There were like tears going on. There's not a dry eye in the place. Everyone's like invigorated. And Ant leans over me and elbows me like halfway through, and he goes, Dude, the Lynx are getting 6 points in the second half of the WNBA. You can't lose.
I'll tell you what, I love the WNBA. Call me a degenerate. But women's basketball is pretty much cut and clear. A lot of more, I have way better numbers betting the WNBA than I do the NFL.
What's cooking, everybody? I am joined in the bunker today by my friend Anthony Baccare. Ant is one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life, and thoroughly enjoyed having him in here. We had a nice conversation that wasn't just laughs, by the way. We had a lot of good, serious conversations in here for long periods of time as well. So I really, really appreciated this one. I'm glad we're closing the year on this one as well, just because I think some of the things we talked about are very relevant to kind of recap what was 2020. So besides that, if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. If you haven't left a 5-star review with a comment on Apple Podcasts and you have a second to do that, that would be a huge help to me, so thank you. And let's keep that trend going of sharing your favorite episode with one friend who you think would like the show this week. To everyone who's done that, thank you very much. And seeing as this is the last episode of the year, I want to thank all of you for your support in the first, really few months of this show. We didn't start this till mid-September. But to all of you who have bought in right away and been an amazing support for me and getting this thing off the ground, thank you very much. And I wish all you guys a very happy, healthy, and safe new year. And let's get on to 2021. I think we're all ready for that. I think we are all ready for 2020 to be over. So that's the good news of the day. Remember, we got a new year coming up. That said, you know what it is. I'm Julian Dorey, and this is TRENDIFIER. Let's go! This is one of the great questions in our culture. Where is the nuance? You're giving opinions and calling them facts. You feel me? Everyone understands this, but few seem to do it. If you don't like the status quo, start asking questions.
You really gonna this whole year is almost like erased.
Yeah.
In that sense.
Who have you been quarantining with?
Just Kim.
Just Kim?
Yeah.
How's that been?
You know how it is, good, bad, ugly. You really they say how you don't really know somebody till you live with them. Well, you don't really know somebody till you're locked in a house with them.
That is true.
Yeah.
I had a friend say to me right at the beginning of Corona, she was like, this thing is going to go longer than we think, obviously. And this is going to make or break relationships. Period.
And the odds are it's going to break it more than... Because you only have so much of a threshold for tolerance.
Yeah.
Everybody has, I can withstand this much of somebody. Even if they're your wife, you still need time to yourself or your friends. It's just the way it's going to work.
Yeah. I mean, it's so true in the sense that we're just wired to look out for ourselves. It's how we're biologically built. And so even when you are like passionately in love with someone, there's still that hypothetical wall that needs to go up sometimes in your day where it's like, all right, I'm just alone with my thoughts for a few minutes. And when you're in a small space all the time, you're working in there, God forbid, like you have a full family and everything, you got the kids home from school, which you don't, but a lot of people do. It's like, yeah, there's no break.
No break. And if you can't love yourself and take care of yourself, how are you going to take care of someone else, your kids? You have to put yourself first. And it's sad to say, but you do. Because if you don't put yourself first, everything else will fall to bits.
So true. So true. How's the rest of your family doing?
Everybody's good. My grandmom, she's 96, but she's still somehow making it with all this going on by herself. So it's kind of...
She's by herself?
By herself. My
no
aunt,
way.
Yeah, my aunt goes over there and takes care of her. So does my mom, my other aunt. But nobody really wants to get that close to her because if, God forbid, it's it.
Yeah, how about that fear, man? That's it.
You don't want to be the
crazy.
one to do it.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, I got it.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is that. I don't know the term for it, but it's that. This is not the real term, but like that opportunity loss. Like, there's a different word I'm looking for. That's not real, but exactly. Like, you don't want to be the one who does it. And so it's like this game theory of people like, well, I'm not going to go over there because then I'll be first. And so then they're not going to go over there and they'll be first.
Yep.
And it's like, it's people's lives, you know? You're not even just talking about the life and death of that, but you're talking about interacting with, in this case, like your elders. And God bless her. I mean, she's 96, living alone.
Still drives.
Fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Still drives.
Still drives, yeah.
I don't know how I feel about that. How's she doing out there?
She's all right. I think she just got in an accident not too long ago.
Oh my God. and no one came to the scene because they're like, oh, we don't want to kill you with COVID.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my God.
And if something does happen, she'll try to hide it from everybody, get it fixed herself. You know what I mean? She won't tell my mom.
Wow. So she's like really independent.
Yeah.
Good for her. Honestly, like that's amazing.
Yeah.
Watch it with the driving, but that's still amazing. But
that has to come to an end sooner than later.
I mean, how do we come out of this, dude? Obviously, you got the vaccine coming and everything, but I'm talking about from like a social perspective, not the medical stuff and all that. Like that's a whole nother conversation. But how does society start to reintegrate itself just to normal? I hate even using that word now, but the way we used to operate business as a whole.
I don't think we do, because that's the $1 million question. Where do you go from here? What's normal now? If it was only for 3 weeks, I'd say, hey, yeah, we'll get back. But it's been how long? So time will only tell. What are they going to say? They tried that 50%, and guess what? That exploded back in our face. So who knows what is going to be the next step that actually continues? But I have no idea, to be honest.
You think we got to be wearing masks a year from now?
Yeah. I think you're wearing masks 5 years from now to go in public.
Come on.
I do.
Come on.
If you've seen, how in China, you'll see people always wearing masks.
But that's also like a cultural thing, and it's when they feel like they're getting sick.
If I'm sick, I'll wear a mask. Well, I don't know. I don't know if stores are going to, it's all about the bottom line. Everything's about the bottom line. And if the store wants, if there's rules put in place where, hey, you have to come into the store with a mask, you're going to go into that store with a mask, you're going to say, hey, I'm not going into that store. I don't, that's my guess.
Oh my God, that's like a whole nother frontier too. Like people deciding like, oh, they're maskless. Oh, they're masks.
That's what I mean, yeah.
And you already have that with states. I mean, fucking Florida right now. It's like a whole different country down there. I haven't been, but a couple guys I had in here were there for like a month. They're like, there's some masks, but that's about it.
There was 30,000 people at the Cowboys game.
Really?
Yeah, it's every state is different.
Yeah.
California, they're saying a year.
Well, that's California.
Yeah, the 49ers had to leave.
Of course they're saying a year. California's insane.
Yeah.
What did you read their holiday mask guidelines?
No, but I'd love to hear it.
Oh my God. I had Horo in here like a month and a half ago before, long before Thanksgiving or whatever it was, 2 months ago. And we were running through the guidelines, and basically it's down to if you're outside, you must be wearing a mask. It must be 75% open or something like that. When you are inside, if you are singing and chanting, chant and sing with a mask on and do it at a below vocal cord level of the room. I mean, it is insane how far they're going. And now all the people are leaving California.
Oh, everybody's leaving. Everybody's leaving New York City. Everybody's leaving Philadelphia. That's why the prices of a house in the suburbs are, $50,000 above ask, $100,000 above ask.
What's the conspiracy there, man? Because these politicians in these cities are doing nothing to stop the spread of people leaving. Yeah. So the other pun right there. They're not doing anything about it, and they're just letting people walk out.
And you're talking big money's walking out.
Yes.
Not, you know what I mean?
Have you seen Miami? What's happening there?
No, but I've been following more New York, Philadelphia,
dude,
Staten Island, the islands.
San Francisco, Silicon Valley is relocating to Miami. And not all of it yet, but Miami and Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I've always said Silicon Valley was the smartest. It's like the smartest area around here.
Yeah.
They are the cutting edge, and I can see them doing that, moving to a state where, guess what? Money talks, everything else walks.
Yeah, I just don't. Sometimes when things don't make sense, you just stare at it for a long time. And what doesn't make sense to me is if I were the mayor of a major city and it was a stronghold even for my political party, which you can say that about like New York and Philly, San Francisco, LA. I would be doing everything in my power to make sure people don't leave.
Yeah.
So there might need to be some things where I piss people off because maybe I don't handle all of COVID the right way, which is a really morally slippery slope and all that. But it's fair to say that these guys not only haven't done that, but they've gone so extreme to handling it in all the wrong ways that it's disgusting. I mean, they are taking away people's livelihoods and openly allowing powerful people in society to continue their livelihoods literally right in front of them.
This is basically, the end of a lot of things. You're going to see like big business is going to step up in a big way after this. You're going to see more, more Amazon. You're going to see more FedEx, more UPS, more big. But you're going to see a lot less small businesses, like a small mom and pop grocery store. You're not going to see as many of that anymore because they just can't handle it. They don't have the money coming in like they do, and that's just the way it's going to be.
It's a sad commentary, but I can't really argue with you. I mean, that's how they want it to be now.
Yeah, I can sit at home and Amazon Fresh gets delivered right to my door. You don't see mom and pop, you know what I mean? It's sad because guess what? They are the staple of this country. Mom and pop stores. Anybody says, hey, we love going here, we love going there. No one says I love going there. You know what I mean?
What happens to them?
I love going to ShopRite.
What happens to them?
What happens to them? That's the biggest question. What is going to happen?
Because these big companies, a lot of them, even as they grow their scale, let's look at it this way. Per employee that they take from a company that they shut down, they don't need to replace with one full employee on their end for when they create jobs and increase their scale.
No.
So I don't know what the ratio is, but also with machines and all that coming in, Amazon, if they put a small business of 10 employees out of business, they're not hiring 10 people because they did that. They're maybe hiring one, maybe, in that ratio. And it's scary.
Soon you're going to see the drones dropping packages in major areas.
Oh,
that's their biggest thing that they're really working on. They're really getting it out there where the drone can carry up to like 30 pounds.
What's he doing? What's Jeff Bezos?
He's an industrious motherfucker. Yeah. I will give him that. There's nothing he can't solve, nothing he can't do. They say he might be the first trillionaire. And
he's going to be.
Yeah, he's going to be.
Well, here's my thing on him. I never cared. I really didn't. No. Whenever you see one of the richest guys in the world, the easiest thing to do is to hate them, right? Because they have what you don't. I never cared. I was like, all right. I was a late adopter of Amazon too. Like I never even used Amazon until maybe like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I never needed to. I don't buy a ton of things. No. And then I started using it, and it's very, very useful, especially like with my business now. So I liked it. But when people would say, oh, he's such a scumbag and you shouldn't shop there or whatever, I'd be like, look, I don't know much more than, his business history and the fact that he gets me my fucking shit to my front door when I want it, and I appreciate it. But I got to say, the last 3 months I've had a lot of people in my ears, and one person in particularly a lot, just going through and asking questions about things that Jeff Bezos does. And it's not even putting on a conspiracy hat at all. It's just saying, like, let's look at the actions and let's ask our questions. Does this look normal? And the fact of the matter is, one of the early questions that really made me go, ooh, was somebody said to me, why does Jeff Bezos need to buy the Washington Post and then plaster it on all of his electronic objects that he sells, be it the Alexa, be it the Kindle, whatever? Why does he need to do that? Why does he need to buy a newspaper, which even when newspapers were profitable, and they're not, the Washington Post was losing money, the size of that business compared to him deploying the same financial resources somewhere else in his own business, from a profitability standpoint, not even close.
No.
So why is he doing that? And then they're like, why is he poking around at buying CNN and stuff? And I try to stay above like this whole mainstream media crap because you basically just get left or right echo chambers. But you have those echo chambers. And he's, I guess, buying into the left side on this one. But is he even left? Like, what is he?
He's whatever makes sense for his pockets.
Yeah, that's my question.
Yeah.
Like, do you think that at all? Because obviously you buy him too.
He wants to get his agenda out there. And what's a better way to get your agenda? What's a better way to get your stance out there than owning that?
What's his agenda?
How can I make more money?
Yeah.
That's it.
Now, do you think that he could just be so lost in that like he's not a bad guy? He's just like so focused on it's a game. It's always like, oh, I did this, so now I have to go attack this because that's the next thing to do? Or do you think he's like, nah, I want to take over the fucking world. Get out of my way.
That's a good question. The dude started selling books.
Yeah.
Then he started selling washer machines. Like, if you would have told me people are buying books online and that turned into, like, you know how big of a company it is, I would have said, yeah, right. Who the hell's buying a book online? But the dude did it. Now look at it.
You ever seen the speech where he like was talking about what he did at the beginning?
Yeah, it's
like,
awesome.
I'm Jeff Bezos and we sell books online. It's like one eye's going this way, another eye's going that way. It's like, and that dude is now like this going to be trillionaire.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And he gave his wife how much? Like $37 billion? And she donated like $6 billion?
Something like that.
Didn't even affect him.
She has no attention either. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
to
very
me.
weird. She became like the richest lady in the States overnight. Nothing.
She's more of a ghost than Lorene Powell,
Yeah.
who was Steve Jobs' wife.
Exactly.
But you know, Lorene Powell was a ghost when he was alive and everything. So, and it was a little bit of a different time. But this woman, like, she's never MacKenzie. That's her name, right? MacKenzie Bezos.
Yeah, MacKenzie Bezos.
Yeah. She's never done an interview on record, and she was technically, I don't even think technically is the word, I think she literally was one of the early founder employees of Amazon.
That's why she got so much.
And she's smart as shit.
She was
too.
there from the jump street.
Yeah. That's sketchy.
Yeah. Why not? That's the question. Why not? And she does so much philanthropy. Like, she donates money. She gives so much. What is she hiding? Why is she not, keeping her face in the spotlight?
And maybe she's not. That's the other thing. Like, we always have to look at this both ways. Maybe she's just a normal woman who happens to now have $37 billion, and she's like, I have no idea what to do with this shit.
Where do I start?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But she might not be. And then you talk about philanthropy. I mean, people talk about like Bill Gates all the time.
Yeah, the Gates Foundation.
Yeah, now he's just a philanthropist.
Yeah.
Like, to me, especially when this is like your territory, because he's been so focused on influenzas for so long, which he's on record about. Like, let's give him that.
He's been preaching this since like
years.
Oh wait, like when Obama really got on the scene, they kind of teamed up, and they've been pushing that hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he's on record. So we'll give him that. But like, leaving the board of Microsoft, I think he did it in February. Like, the company he founded, you do it right before Corona. And I know some of that could be coincidental, but then when you're out there telling everyone, acting like you're the medical expert on it, yes, dude, you own a foundation. You know a lot about this. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
You are a coder. You're not a doctor. Leave that to them.
Stay in your lane.
Yeah, exactly. Like, if people want to argue over what Fauci says or whatever, okay. All right, that's a different conversation. Like, he's a doctor, so bring another doctor to argue with him. Fine. But, like, when it's Gates, it's just so, I don't know. But the red lights go up, and I'm like, I do not trust anything I'm hearing right now. And I don't even know what I'm hearing.
No.
It's crazy.
I think so much happens behind the scenes that it doesn't even matter what's said to the public.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's already been written what is going to happen. You know what I mean? They're just waiting just to play it out the way they want.
If ever anyone happened to end up in whatever room that is, just by happenstance,
fly on the wall. Yeah.
It's you.
Yeah.
You're ending up in there like, oh, this isn't the bookie convention? Oh shit, I'm sorry.
You don't need this room painted?
Well, speaking of that, how has the bookie business been during this prolonged pandemic?
No different than the stock market, no different than the housing market. People have nothing to do. So what are they going to do? Gamble.
Now, what are they gambling on?
I've seen people gamble table tennis at 3 o'clock in the morning. I've seen people gamble the craziest things, e-gaming at 2 in the morning. People have nothing to do. Idle hands, idle minds, terrible things are going to happen. And it's no different for anything else.
When your clients want to go do this stuff and they want to go gamble on table tennis,
red flags are flying.
But do they have to text you first and be like...
No, they have a limit. And whatever your limit is, play it out.
Now, how close do you track the line? Are there even lines on table tennis?
Oh, yeah. I don't track them. Who the hell's tracking that? It's like table tennis in like Yugoslavia. Something like... It's not in the States. It's way out there in Eastern Europe.
But how... I mean, you're on the hook for it. You got to be able to balance the lines.
No, I don't balance any of the lines. They balance all the lines. Yeah, Vegas does it. You just apply the line and let them go from there.
Got it.
Yeah.
So I assume a lot of that weird action was happening pretty quickly when this started because all sports shut down.
Soccer was huge when it started. Remember, soccer was going down in Europe, England, before football, baseball, even KBO. People were gambling KBO. I was seeing like $2,000
when sports
a game.
Came back, you're saying.
Remember KBO and soccer were the first ones to light up? The KBO Baseball League in South Korea?
I was unaware of that.
Yes. Well, that was like one of the first, and people were betting the KBO like it was the MLB.
Come on.
People were betting the Premier League like I've never seen. It's just the way it goes.
What was the what's it called? The time region on that? Like 12 hours?
The games would start around 5 a.m. for the KBO.
God.
So people would get up, bet them, go back to bed.
What time is that in Korea?
That's like 9, like 7 o'clock baseball game. It's 5 o'clock in the morning. That's my pretty good. That's what I'm guessing. Because if you're going to have a baseball game, it's going to be, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock your time, 5 in the morning here.
Did you have any trouble collecting from people who didn't want to pay up because they lost table tennis or for the fucking KBO?
No. You know who has the money and who doesn't. So you know what I mean? Someone who's gambling on table tennis isn't someone. They're just it's a weird thing to say, but it's just the way it works. People, if something's available to be gambled on, they're going to do it. That's just the way it's going to be.
What is it in humans, like in us, that makes us need the action on things? Because it's so
It's the
true.
unknown. It's the unknown. Exactly. It's like, remember you were 19 and you had a fake ID. You went to the bar. It was awesome.
I remember that.
You're
got
21. Get away from it. I don't even want to go there.
Yeah.
It's doing something illegal. It's doing something unknown. That is the biggest draw. It's having something that, can I win or can I lose? And you don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the draw.
Well, you saw it because I guess it was like March 12th or 11th, the NBA shut down.
Yeah.
And then all the other leagues by the next day followed suit. And so then over the next 5 days, that's when quarantines rolled in and people started doing that. And you saw all these randos run to Robinhood and like E-Trade
Stocks.
and start buying the stock market.
Stocks were so volatile after that. Like, It was crazy.
Yeah, but they're basically buying things that they have no idea what they're buying.
But little did they know that to be a day trader, to buy and sell stocks every day, you have to have $25,000 sitting in that account, or else you got to buy it. And you can't buy and sell the same stock. I think it's like 3 times a week without having 25,000.
Something like that.
Yeah, 3 different stocks. You have to have at least 25,000 in your account to do that.
But they could buy up. They could buy a bucket of stocks.
Buy as much as you want, but you just can't sell that same stock in the same day.
Yeah,
that's the rule.
Yeah. But it brought a lot of people in. And then I always subscribe to, or ascribe to, however you say, the taxi driver theory.
Okay. Yeah.
You ever hear that?
Yeah.
Where it's like the taxi driver starts giving you stock picks, like sell the fucking house.
Yeah. If he's heard of it by now, run.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And the taxi driver bells were going off in like the end of March. I'm going, oh my God. You got to short this whole goddamn market. Yeah. And then it just kept going because, again, people had nothing to do, so they just kept doing it.
I remember taking a small dive right around the end of summer. And then once fall hit, my God, it just took off.
Yeah. And as far as like the action on NFL and, NBA is coming up now in a week. Did you have a lot of action on the NBA when it came back in the bubble?
Everything was huge. Nothing's bigger than the NFL. That's king.
Yeah.
That'll always be king. That's what Americans love. But yeah, people loved it.
And it's still the same kind of fervor. Just because, I'm looking at these games, it's empty stadiums.
Nobody cares about that.
Really?
No.
I care about that.
Yeah. Well, I know the players and the coaches care about it too, but the gamer doesn't care.
Yeah.
Home field advantage. So when you gamble for an NFL team, if you have home field, you get an extra 3 points for your line. Vegas gives you 3 points.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they adjusted that without fans. So that's another thing.
That's a good question.
Yes. Because you got 70,000 people rocking that stadium. That changes the game.
Totally.
Yeah.
You watch some of these, and there aren't home games. No. I guess Dallas, like you said, had 30,000 fans in there. But even that, they usually have what, like 75? That's not a big deal. By the way, in Texas, that's like a Friday Night Lights game.
Yes.
Without the smaller stadium keeping the noise in.
I think the stress of traveling with COVID really, I think that could worry a player. I'm traveling You know, I don't want it when you're not supposed to travel.
Yeah.
Even though and people were getting, how many players are, he's on the COVID list. He's on the COVID list. Games had to be moved due to so many players getting it.
That's my thing, man. All of them are fine.
Well, you're talking about the best athletes in the world.
I know.
Yeah.
All of them are fine.
They're back in a week, ready to go.
It's crazy. And it just like sometimes I feel stupid with it because I'm like, they take it so seriously on some things, and it's like there is not even a thought in your head like someone's going to have a problem. It's like, oh, he got it. All right. You know.
And remember, they were joking around, Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell.
Yeah.
Rudy Gobert like touched his mic.
they were like,
they got backlash for that.
They're cool now.
Yeah, they're great. I would be kind of upset too because nobody knew that.
No
It was
one
like,
knew.
oh my God, did I just get AIDS? What happened?
He was running around the locker room saying the whole thing was a hoax.
Yes.
Yeah. It was like
had to
this is a joke.
apologize.
This is a joke. He's like rubbing everything and shit. And then Mitchell got it. But that was one of the craziest nights ever when that whole
Remember
thing
that
went down.
NHL? Everything shut down.
Like, bang, bang. It was like watching when you have the warehouse in the movie and they turn out the lights, all the LED lights, and you watch bang, 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 every light go out. That is pretty much what that Wednesday night of that week felt like, because you just saw Adam Silver cancel the season. You saw the president schedule an Oval Office thing for 9:30. Then you watched the NHL come in. I think they canceled that night too. All the other leagues start like talking behind the scenes like, oh, we're going to cancel. Surreal, man.
Yeah, what the NBA did was unbelievable. That how they planned that and executed it. Not one player.
Adam Silver is, in my lifetime of any league, he is the most impressive commissioner I have ever seen.
Yeah. And he's the most loved. Everybody loves him. Great guy.
He finds a way to play that middle ground like you can't believe. Because David Stern, a lot of guys hated him. A lot of players hated him. But
he did a lot for the league.
Yeah.
He made that league. That league was struggling until he got there.
That's my point.
Yeah.
Adam Silver finds a way to do an effective job on a level that David Stern did it, and also have everyone love him.
Yes.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Very hard to do.
They love him. Because he knows it's a players' league, but there's got to be money made at the same time. So he's filling the owner's pockets while keeping the players happy as well. That's the hardest part.
And Stern came in, I mean, they were playing, it was like 1984, they were playing NBA games on tape delay like two days later.
Yeah.
And he had Magic and Bird in there, and he was like, what the fuck, guys? Like, I think we can do something here. And he was such a good businessman, but he recognized it like he completely worked for the owners, which is the job of the commissioner. You are hired by the owners and you work for the owners, and your job is to, like they say, all around, it's to make fucking money.
And he took the game to China, and that's what started making the big bucks. Yeah. They were already making big bucks, but that's what made it really grow to another level.
You ever see what he said about that, though?
Which he's maybe been interviewed about like 100 times about that. So which one?
Back when they did it.
No, I mean, you'd have to refresh my memory, but
I saw this because he died like
not
almost
long
like
ago.
the first of the year this year, 2020. But he did an interview with the New York Times, like one of those written interviews where it's not videoed, but they just give the transcript. I never get that.
Bold text, light text.
Yeah, it's like just put it on camera.
Yeah.
But anyway, I guess it was maybe like 03 or 04, something like that. I'll find it after the show and I'll put it in the show notes. But they wrote in the article, and we asked this question to Stern about the league's relationship with China, and he uncharacteristically let out an ominous face or something like that. And then he explained, he said, look, my job is to make money for the owners, and the Chinese market is enormous, and they love the game over there. And so obviously we want to bring the game to the people. It solves two things. But he said, it does keep me up at night, or something along those lines, that is a chicken that's going to come home to roost at some point, because we are dealing with a country that is not free. We are dealing with a country that is at the control of their government, and everything we do is appeased through them.
Absolutely.
And now we're seeing that start to happen.
Yeah. They shut their country down in no time. If you were saw on the street, you were arrested.
Yeah, I laugh, but it's Like, did you see the maps?
They don't like their internet is so censored there. It's amazing,
dude. They don't have Twitter.
They have nothing.
They don't have Facebook. Yeah, they don't have Google. They don't have any of that. They have all the Chinese versions of it, and the government gets to see what it is.
Absolutely. And if you get caught, like getting into that, oh my God, you're doing 10 years in prison.
Oh my God, yeah. Yeah, but their government uses it because their government, after, remember the whole Maury thing, Daryl Morey?
Yeah.
With the Hong Kong.
What he said.
Yeah. He was like free. It's back beginning of October 2019 during the preseason. He said, fight for freedom, fight for Hong Kong or something like that on Twitter. And so that's what caused the whole rift because the Chinese government blew a gasket.
Yeah.
Oh my God, the NBA said this about Hong Kong. How dare they?
Yeah.
And he got all this backlash, but the Wall Street Journal did an amazing report that they brought out like, I don't know, 2 weeks later maybe. And no one paid attention to it. But they tracked all the troll accounts that came in on his tweets. And they were all emanating from China using a VPN to get outside the wall of the country and basically repeating Chinese communist government propaganda.
It's amazing. Because 20 years ago, China was nothing. And they backed all their money into the internet, all their money into just the next level science and the internet and how that works. Look at them now.
When did you start noticing China was an issue?
When everything I bought said made in China.
I mean, that's kind of always been the case.
Yeah, it's always been the case, but everything, Apple, everybody that is making major money in this country is making their products overseas in China. You'll see it's made in China, assembled in China. The iPhone, made in China, assembled in China. Just the way, you know what I mean? They're paying people 17 cents an hour. So the shipping it back and forth is nothing because they're making it for pennies on the dollar.
Because they don't, And
the government runs the country. They decide what's going to happen. And if they want to, Amazon, Apple, if they want those monster companies to come here, it's totally wrong. But guess what? It's the bottom line is what talks the loudest. It's the way it's always going to be, and it's never going to change.
They use our free markets against us.
Absolutely.
Because if we come in and say, you can't do that, now it's not a free market. Oh, I can't go where I get the best labor to be able to return value to my shareholders?
And then they smash the American public by saying, do you want to pay 300 times the amount of what you already pay for this? Oh, no, we don't. Okay, then. Shh.
Exactly. And that's the danger, too, because, and that's what you saw the problem with the NBA with China, because everyone got real fucking quiet about China after that happened.
Some of the owners, they all have ties overseas there.
Yeah, man. And regardless of, because all the owners, not all of them, but a lot of them are predominantly donors of one of the two parties. Regardless of party, man. And they're tied.
Yeah. And then a lot of them will donate to both, too, just to cover their ass.
Yeah. And I mean, that's the oldest trick in the book. Yeah. Shit, that's what Trump did for 40 years.
The king.
Yeah, he had Schumer coming in, and when he walked out, Cruz is coming in.
Covered every end he got to cover.
Man. It's so corrupt. It's so crazy.
And it's never going to change. And people think, oh, this president's going to change this guy. No, they're not. Because what's not going to change? The bottom dollar. No. And until you change money, which you'll never change, you're not changing a thing.
Yeah. Everyone has their political awakening if they have it at some point different in their life, or maybe it's a lot of people when they're younger. But there's always that moment where you actually think, oh, this is going to be the answer. This is going to be the one. This is it. Yeah. We got him.
We got it.
And then, oh no.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
They give you a check for $600 and expect you to be $600,
dude. It is basically like, here's a personal go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Here's $600. Go buy lunch for the week.
The no-show jobs were getting more than that per hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's...
Absolutely.
It's like... And I know people look at other countries and what they're doing for their people and can't argue with it. I mean... Yeah. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but other countries were paying out $1,200 stipends at some point. The danger is, I'm not defending the government on this, but the danger becomes A, how much currency do you print? And B, how many things do you create that then you never get people off? And now the government, 10 years later, yes, and they're all more powerful. Those are the slippery slopes.
Absolutely.
But I mean, the fact that they just threw, and no one talks about it, they just threw $4 trillion or whatever it was at the problem. And suddenly, we're good.
And printed the money behind it. Yeah.
Printed it.
Yeah.
And people, look, everyone's got a life. Like, they're worried about their own shit. They don't pay attention to this stuff. But we don't think about how where I had X amount of paper, I now add X plus 4 trillion.
Yeah.
It's worth less.
Yeah. Right now, it might not be, but eventually.
Yes, correct.
It has to balance out.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because it really hasn't hit too hard yet on like the price action. But it doesn't do that right away. As you said, it can take a couple years.
Just like when the housing market crashed in 2007. No. They expected it to crash. The people that knew what they were talking about expected it to crash like a year or two before that. It just takes time. There's so many people trying to fight against that happening.
And your dad's always had a contracting business, right?
For 35 years, he's owned it.
Right. Yeah. So did he see anything there to be able to say, I see something wrong?
Absolutely.
Here? Like what?
Everybody was losing their house. Nobody was getting their houses painted. Nobody's getting work done. What happened was he shifted to apartments. Everybody's moving to apartments because they lost their houses.
When was that?
07, 08, 09. He said they were really tricky. I know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So like 07.
Lost business. Businesses that were around for 80 years. 100 years lost. It's just the way it goes. No one had anything.
Yeah. I mean, they were giving out mortgages.
To anybody.
One-page paper.
You didn't even need to show proof of income to get a house. You just needed that 20%. You were called a ninja. It's literally what it was called, a ninja.
Yeah. And then how did he get through that? Because, I mean, 09, 10, there's nothing happening.
Just reputation, great marketing, just, certain people have money are always going to have money. And you got to be in with that niche. You got to, get frugal. And that's the way it happened. The people that survived that really, took a couple steps forward after that. Once everything settled, businesses really got back to being good again.
Yeah.
But if you didn't pivot, you drowned.
Exactly.
Yeah. His business had to pivot to another direction. Instead of painting, a $500,000, $1 million house, you can go and paint a Section 8 apartment for the government.
And the first point you made back there is even more relevant just because the people who had money and were able to at least hold on to some while that was all going down, it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
So you come to the other side, it's maybe the analogy is like when a biker's behind another biker and they're going up a hill and there's a downhill on the other side. When the first biker gets that downhill, they're going to be picking up more ground than you're going to be able to pick up once you get to the downhill and they're wherever the hell they are on them.
Absolutely.
Because you're going uphill and most of society's going uphill. So you saw out of the housing crisis the greatest wealth gap generation ever.
God. The rich
until Corona.
Astronomically richer, and the middle class got kind of wiped out after that. The middle class really took a few steps back after 2007.
Yeah. And that's why when people were really touting the stock market, like, oh, we're going to be all right, and like end of June or end of April into May, I'm thinking to myself, first of all, you had a lot of companies in the stock market that were doing badly, and then companies that were just doing great because of this, who were carrying it all and averaging it out. But on top of that, this was representative of a certain part of society. They're not taking into account all of the middle class small businesses you allude to. They're not taking into account those communities.
You come last.
Yeah.
And it's just the way it's going to be. And people hate it. Guess what? You can only do one thing. Better your chances, work harder, and sometimes you got to roll the dice. And that's the way it's going to be.
Yeah, they got to become a client of yours.
That's it, yeah. Give it to me.
How'd you build that book? How long have you had it?
I didn't build it. It was a good friend of mine's, and I would, I was a procurer of sorts. I knew people that wanted action. I would bring the action in and take a percentage. And then that's just the way it worked, and then eventually just, build your way up.
Now, would you sneak around and I don't mean sneak around, but just be constantly asking people, oh, you bet on games? Like a salesman in any other job?
No, because that's bad business. I don't know what you have.
No, I'm saying before you got into this, because you said you knew people who wanted the action. You got to know them.
People love gambling. People talk about it. Hey, I got $100 on the Knicks. Hey, you do? Who do you put your action with? Oh, you do. What if I gave you 10% on your losses? So when you lose, you only had to give me 90%. Oh, you would do that. Yeah.
You do that?
Yeah. A lot of people do that.
That's smart business.
Yeah. What's 10%? When you know?
Yeah, it's a good investment. It's a good investment. I mean, up in North Jersey, you go like this, walk outside. I mean, there's a bookie walking down, so I never had to worry about it. But I also I've never been one to gamble on games. I love sports since I was a kid, but always was aware of it. I actually ran a sports book for like 2 days in high school. Didn't go well.
No, because you got to get lucky.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the creativity now that people do this, it's pretty crazy. Just because it's so, like you said, it's always been around, but the internet really changed the speed and volume at which people can do this. Say
the Giants get a first down. Mm-hmm. You can get that live action, right? Ooh, the Giants look pretty good. Let me get a live action line. Yeah. You can bet. There's no more I got to get the bet in by 1 o'clock. You can get the bet in at 1:10 now, 1:15. You know, there's no more, yo, Jim, I let me get 500 on the Yankees. There's no more of that.
There's no more of that.
No. And even if you don't have to put a debit card up and everything's cash, there's still no more of that because everything's done on a website.
And what website do you use?
There's a million different websites out there that are all overseas balanced.
Now, how does that work? I've never looked into this. I got a buddy who's big at a company called PointsBet. So I really should have asked him about this, but I haven't yet. What's the story with what's legal to have located on U.S. soil versus what's not? And then how many of them still go overseas even if they could be legal here? And what's the impetus to do that?
Well, are you paying taxes? Because if you are, it's illegal. Well, here's the game. Say you go overseas and you want to, use their book. Well, you got to rent seats. Renting seats means, say I have 100 gamblers and I want them all to have an account. Well, that costs around $8 to $12 an account. You got to pay per week, or they have a monthly figure you can use. That way, they're making something. They're not paying you, and you're not paying them. You're only paying them for their services. They balance the book for you. They control the numbers. They go to Vegas and get the lines. They have everything live. They do all of that. You have to come up with the money for your people, but you have to pay them, and that's it.
So they basically take a vig. They basically take a rake.
A rake
poker
of
in the
each,
casinos.
yes. So if you have 100 accounts, you got to pay 800, $800 a week to them.
Now, do you know a lot of guys who operate offline still?
I personally don't. No, I don't think anybody is, because nobody. How are you you're gonna write it all down in a book?
Dude, there's a lot of guys in North Jersey.
I'm sure old school guys, but I personally don't. Everybody I know does that. Yeah. Where they'll, everything's online, and I get to check my balance. Just go click your history. What's your balance?
It's all taken care of.
It's all taken care of. Yeah.
Now, how often do you look at it though? Because people are betting on shit all over the world, apparently.
Every couple of hours.
You setting alarms in the middle of the night?
No, that's a very rare occurrence. It honestly is. That's very rare.
Only when the Indian Cricket League is in the finals.
Yes. Yeah. India plays England in the cricket finals. Yeah. It's like say you can go online right now, and right now the Steelers are playing. You can bet the Steelers right now live. It's that. But guess what? I don't have to give you my debit card information. I don't have to, I don't have to pay taxes on it. Me and you will meet up at a certain number at the end of the week.
How does that go?
Easy.
You never have a problem?
No. Because you have to know I'm sure there's people that do have problems, but you have to know your clients.
So you know your clients are not going to be welchers before you take them on?
No. You got to know they have money. If you don't have a job, you're not getting an account.
Fair. So you don't have to walk around with the Louisville?
No. And I would never do that. That would never be me. I'm not that kind of guy.
You sold that very well.
Yeah.
Well done.
It's not me.
I kind of believe him. I'm looking at him. He practiced that one in the mirror.
No, I'm serious. It's not like that for me. It's more of, a way to enjoy myself and gamble at the same time and provide a service. Providing a service.
You're dedicated. I will give you, you're on the ball all the time. I will never forget sitting at a wedding of which I will not name what wedding it was, and there's a speech going on. I don't remember who it was. Maybe it was like the man of honor given given the the speech for the groom and something like that. But there were like tears going on. There's not a dry eye in the place. Everyone's like invigorated. And Ant leans over me and elbows me like halfway through, and he goes, Dude, the Lynx are getting 6 points in the second half of the WNBA. You can't lose.
I'll tell you what, I love the WNBA. Call me a degenerate. But women's basketball is pretty much cut and clear. A lot of more, I have way better numbers betting the WNBA than I do the NFL.
Why is that? Because the bookies are lazy on it?
No, it's not even
odds
Vegas.
makers?
Yeah, Vegas is great. It's guess what? Some of them women are just better than the other women. And I don't know why it translates to that, but guess what? They basically know who's going to win it all at the end before the year starts.
Now, do you think that guys like you are going to be gone in 5-10 years?
No, it's never going to be gone.
Never.
People love doing something illegal.
No, not because of that. I agree. It's a huge space. The space is only growing.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the data and
Oh my
because like
God,
sometimes
yeah.
I get a feel for it, like you're talking about, just like knowing people and whatever. And I know it's huge, but like you look at the data, and it's like, oh my God, they know that the worst of us is going to come out.
Yeah.
But I'm talking about finding a way where a lot of these platforms, which are centralized platforms, whether it's through like new regulations, you see things loosening up around the country here, or whatever it is, where now suddenly they don't need you as a middleman. They just go straight to the customer on everything, because that does already exist.
Absolutely,
let's be
it
honest,
does.
heavily, but for your kind of action.
Well, they offer, you could see, your first $500 bet's free.
Yeah.
You'll see that a lot. Or you'll see, you bet $10 on the Yankees and, you can win $300. That's the way they're trying to pull people in. But you also have to put your money up front.
Yeah.
You can't just put a bet in without transferring funds into that account. With us, there's none of that. So people love to gamble without putting a number up there first, where everything's taken on the arm, and they get to pay later or get paid later.
Yeah. And I guess, yeah, because in casinos, I mean, that's the order of business. You got to be able to pay to play for everything. There's no free riding whatsoever. Never been that way.
Yeah.
But I kind of wonder like how that's even going to go. Have you been to AC at all during this whole thing?
Once. There's plastic everywhere. Like if you say how this is a round table, there's plastic dividing every section where a player would play, and in front of the dealer.
At every single table?
Every single table.
Are there parts of the casino that's closed down?
Yeah, there's a lot of it that's closed down. There's like no more smoking. There's so many rules. It's amazing.
Where'd you go?
I walked through the Hard Rock, and I was like, oh my God.
Dude, I was in the Hard Rock a bunch right before Corona, but we were in there for a bachelor party like 4 or 5 weeks before Corona.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. Like, now that was a long time ago. And it's crazy to me because I'm picturing everything that happened there and how open it was. And now it's almost like when you get grounded into believing something over time and it just keeps on getting more and more strict.
Yeah.
You get very hopeful about things that are just slightly less strict versus, oh my God, not that long ago, we were allowed to do this. Like, we were all the way over here.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And I wonder if anyone's going to be able to rip off the Band-Aid with that. So, I mean, you're really down on it. You're saying,
well, who's first? Who's first is my question. Who was going to say, you know what, I'm taking this shot? You're either going to fall on your face or you're going to come out swinging and win. There's no in between.
That's what I mean.
And the government that's the biggest thing. It's up to the government. It's not up to you. It's not up to Wawa. It's up to them. What they say goes. That's
the problem.
How do you enforce it too?
What do you mean?
Say if the store says not coming with a mask. How do you enforce it? And the government says this, if the government says no more masks, but the store says, oh, I want you to wear a mask. How do you enforce them to wear a mask is what I'm saying.
I mean, the obvious answer is people are going to call the cops, but have you seen the videos of this, like when this happens?
It's crazy. People go nuts.
These cops, I feel bad for them.
That's the worst job in America right now, is being a cop.
Think about it. And I'm generalizing right now. This is a huge generalization I'm about to make, but let's just do it for argument purposes based on videos we're seeing online. You had all the protests in June and throughout the summer, and it's still kind of going in some ways, but the heavy ones where it was in every city in June. Yeah. And the sentiment was very angry at police because of some of the things that had happened this year. And there was a lot of generalization where they were saying all cops bad and defund this and whatever. And so there was all this tension. And you saw the typical political divide where the strongest fervent people coming out for cops were your typical old school conservative, small business owner type people, right?
Yeah.
And again, generalization, huge generalization, but let's just use it for the sake of argument. And now, 6 months later, when you see these videos come up, it's a cop that gets called to these businesses that get reported or whatever.
Yeah.
And the cops just doing their job. Like they're required to show up and enforce the law. Like the guys who were shutting down the dude at Tillis Gym, like left and right in Belmar. Half those guys, they don't want to fucking do that, but they're told they have to do it. So it's not their problem. But still, they're the messenger, and you shoot the messenger. Every time. You now see these same quote unquote small business, regular old school American conservatives screaming at the cops.
Yeah.
It's like this giant circle of life just got whipsawed around, and I can't really process it in my head. It's just so confusing to me. But where does that end? Do now all cops have no friends or people who are constantly questioning everything they do? I mean, not that it's here, but you look in Europe, they're trying to, when they're in the streets fighting for their businesses, they're trying to kill these damn cops.
It's money. So people forget that cops go home.
Yeah.
When they're done. People forget they're just people.
Yep.
You know, they just want to do their job and go home.
Yeah.
And people forget that. You know, and I understand one bad cop, it's all it takes to start something. But 98% of them are fine and good people.
Yeah.
It's just that one bad cop, and people take it so far.
Not even putting a number on it, because I don't have them in front of me and I don't want to get yelled at. But you have the bad eggs who are just bad guys. You have your Derek Chauvins, like who are just bad humans. Yeah. No doubt about it. The other issue, though, and this is something I talked to my neighbor about, because he was an ex-cop, like undercover cop, whole nine in Philly for like 20 years, like knows what's going on. And he's so conflicted because he loved that job and he loves so many of the guys he works with, but he also recognizes, especially working in a city, like there's some shit there.
Oh, yeah.
And he said one of the big problems is that you have guys who are inherently good, like you say, who just don't want to get involved when they see shit that they're like, oh, fuck that. And so then it gets enabled. And then when it all comes out...
A brotherhood.
Yeah.
You don't tell on your brother.
That's the problem.
You see him taking money. You telling him you're ostracized. You're done if you go and talk.
Yeah.
You don't do that. That's the biggest problem.
You ever see the movie Serpico?
Yes. Great movie.
Yeah. I mean, that's... Yeah. I know that's 40 years ago, but...
It doesn't change anything.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
There was another one on Netflix, like a documentary on a really dirty precinct in New York. What the hell was that
It's called like the 415, something like that.
Like
in New York.
Yeah, like the 5-7.
They were selling drugs. They were doing whatever it took.
But that's what they said too. They're like, it would go so far that all the guys would get indoctrinated into it. But then the few guys that still didn't report, because it was like, you do that, you're done.
Done. You'll never be a cop again.
And the guys who were talking about it are the ones who were bad, who then went to jail. And now they're like, yeah, that was really a shame. Yeah. But they were the same guys pressuring that dude.
To do it with them.
Yeah, and then to shut his mouth when he didn't.
They would just intimidate people on the street like it was nothing.
Nothing.
Take whatever they wanted. It was, people get that power, and it can go one or two ways. You can either control it, or you can just completely lose your mind with that power. Because guess what? People are, that's why people don't trust cops anymore. Because of that. Yeah. One cop does that, takes it way too far, and it's just embedded that, oh, no, don't trust the cops now. That's the biggest problem.
Video doesn't help.
Oh, my God, no. That everything is on camera. It only takes one incident to change one person's mind.
Once in a while, you'll see, like, the feel-good post where someone shows, like, a good video of a cop, like, having a good interaction, which I appreciate. And I wish we saw more of that.
You'll never see that on the news.
That's the point. The fact of the matter is, the ones that come around every day, I mean, you still see it every day popping up. There's something. It's always like oh, that was really bad.
Yeah.
Shouldn't have done that. And it's that negativity bias we have, but you can't not have incentives for stuff. That's my biggest thing. It's like when you go to do what you do, because you do a bunch of different things, not just bookmaking. Like, you got to make money, right? So if we want to have good police forces where people feel compelled to uphold their own as well, like not just themselves, but if they see bad shit in their police force, they're going to report it and they're not going to be screwed. You have to be able to incentivize that through making the career more attractive too.
And it's not.
It's not.
You make what, like 60 grand, 70 grand as being a beat street cop?
Let's say that once you start to make it, though, I won't even say detective, but you start rising up through the ranks in
Stop looking like you're invading Poland.
Exactly. I knew it was coming. I knew it. That was the first one. It's been a while.
Yeah.
I was expecting like 5 in the first 5 minutes of the Sopranos drops, but that was pretty good. But like, let's say you're working in a big suburban town, like not even a city.
Like the towns we live in.
Sure. Yeah. And then you rise up through the ranks, and maybe you're 40 years old and you're making 120. I don't know. I'm throwing out numbers.
Absolutely. They can do that around here.
It's still like there's still a huge ceiling on it. Everyone's also got the question on whether or not their pensions are going to be funded by the time they get there at this point.
Yeah, absolutely.
And frankly, living in a decent part of the country where there's decent expenses and everything, and you got a family and stuff, $120,000 isn't an investment banker. It's not like you are not powerful economically in that way.
No.
And so there's already low incentive for it.
120,000, you'll save what, maybe 5 to 10 grand a year. You need a wife that you need a wife that matches that income.
Correct.
To actually enhance your where you are in life. You know what I mean? To actually take a step forward.
I will never forget up in New York. I was living there in the summers when I was dating a girl in college. And one morning, I had a job up there, and so I'd be driving at like 5 a.m. to go get the job done and then come back. And so one morning, I have on WFAN. And it's, that's the big sports station up in New York for people that don't know. And I will never forget this. But this ad comes on, like a full-blown 60-second spot. And it's got like the inspirational music in the background or whatever. And I'm like, oh, what's this? It had like a weird sound to it. And a voice comes on and goes, join the NYPD.
Oh,
And then it doesn't say like protect, serve, duty, honor, like the Marines put on TV, which is fine. It says, you will get a 401k. You will get benefits for your health care. You could have a life. It's like selling all these things. And I'm looking at the clock. I'm looking at what the station is. I'm realizing it's a Saturday morning at 5 a.m. And I'm like, who the fuck is listening to this right now? Like, there's some guy out in Long Island working some weird job who's never had any sense of justice in his life, doesn't give a fuck about it, who's like, well, shit, sign me up. Like, give me a gun, let's go.
Let's party.
And that's the problem, because they already didn't have the incentive. So they have all these people who are like, oh, I think I'll do that because I at least get my benefits and stuff, and I get to carry a gun? Cool. So you're attracting the wrong people.
Absolutely. Like I said, they're just regular people. People forget that. Like, that situation pops off. I know they're trained for it, but guess what? They might not have seen like an action like that in 20 years. People expect them to do the right thing. Someone pulls a gun on you. You're no different than me or you. People don't realize that. They're just regular guys or women.
And their training is so bad. So
terrible, because it's money. It costs money to train them. And you're not talking about training 1 or 2 people. You're talking about training your whole force. Millions of dollars. And when you bring that to your township, or you bring that to your, God forbid, you got to train a city force.
Oh, yeah.
No, they're going to say no.
But they want to defund. The same people who are pissed at this want to defund the police. And let me take the other side of that side as well. We don't give these people attention, but there are a lot of people in there who are just saying that to get people to the table to talk about improving certain systems and improving what cops deal with and what they don't.
Yeah.
That's not what people hear, though. Defund the police is a terrible line, and the people who actually mean it, they're like, take all the money out of it. Well, what the fuck is that going to do? That's just going to make it way worse.
Yeah, it's not going to fix one thing.
It's not going to fix one thing.
If anything, they got to take some of the hats away from the cops. Cops have to wear less hats.
Yes.
Like a fireman, he just puts fires out.
Yeah. A
cop, oh my God, he's got to be a social worker.
Yes.
He's got to be a fighter some days. He's got to do so much. and it's just not fair.
Yeah. I had Terrence Jones in here to talk about that and go through like when some people that he even associates with will say defund the police, and he's like, well, and I didn't agree with everything he said, but he made a lot of great points, and he was saying basically there's certain things, like especially around mental health, it's like, why even put that on the cops? Why make them deal with that? If we have people who are psychologically trained to do it and we can keep the environment somewhat safe, let's do it. Where I draw the line is like when they talk about saying, well, maybe cops shouldn't deal with domestic violence. I draw the line there. Like when I hear stuff like that, because I'm thinking, if they go somewhere and there's a really fucked up guy, I hope to God they don't have to take out the gun. But, you know, thinking of the woman, they got to do it. I'd rather them have the option to do it, but then they got to be trained to do it too.
Most of the times, domestic violence doesn't end well.
No.
First couple times, it could be, you know, all right. Eventually, it's going to get ugly and ugly and uglier.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I mean, what was the one in the one video in all the Jacob Blake guy? Was that his name?
The guy that got killed.
He got paralyzed. He got shot going to the
back
door of the car.
6 times, and his kids were in the back. Yeah, Jacob Blake.
Did you see the cop carrying the gun there?
Yeah.
Donut Patrol.
No, exactly.
Donut, dude.
They I don't get it. Just they let him go. Yeah. They let him go.
Sir, sir, stop!
Yeah.
Stop, sir! Stop!
Don't go in your car.
Like his arms are literally like locked in like this.
Yeah.
I felt who's the cop in Die Hard who's like literally eating the donut in the car?
Yeah.
Who shoots the guy at the end and he's shooting him like this?
Yeah.
And you're like supposed to believe that's how it's done.
Yeah.
Like it's just sometimes you watch it and you're like, oh no. Like obviously it's tragic every time, but you know what's happening before you even see the video, and you're just like, oh no. Like he doesn't. Oh no.
He's not ready for this.
No.
He got his card
Nope.
pulled. He was not ready.
Yeah. And then, you know, sometimes it's cut and dry.
Cut and dry, yeah.
And the Chauvin one wasn't a gun, but there was, I mean...
You know, on his neck, like...
Yeah, that one was just horrific, humane-wise. But then when you see these guys with guns, I've seen the ones where, like, the guy's running away and they shoot him in the back, and it's like...
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Just let him run. Okay, I'll get in my car and I'll come get you.
We'll get to you later.
Yeah, hurt, buddy.
But you know what? It's the same problem, though, because then people say, ooh, well, if he runs away, and I'm not talking about the egregious situations that I was just pointing to where it's like no question about it. It was like basically an innocent guy. But like some of the ones where it's a violent person who got away from the cops, if it's in the heat of the moment and he got away and he's a danger to society, I get it, because if they don't take action and then he runs and commits crimes or like crashes into a tree and takes another car with him and kills a couple people, it's the city getting sued and other lives getting lost.
That's why each cop has to know each situation is different.
Yeah.
And you have to be able to understand, hey, this guy might not do, you know what I mean? But you need to be ready to act at any time. And that's the problem. They're not ready.
Yeah.
Like I said, like that guy ran around his car. They let him go into his car, reach around for things, and then they shoot him in the back. Stop him the second he tries to get into that car.
Yeah. I got to go see that one again.
Yeah.
But it's... I guess sometimes like there's the argument that like so many things are happening so fast, but I also talked to my neighbor about that, and he was saying one of the things he said is that a lot of these departments, I believe he told me it's different from department to department. They have it set based on like city governance or whatever. But a common line you will see is that, I forget the term for it, but where they say they have the authority to use deadly force because they're in danger. He said a common line for that is 50 feet. He said, now look, if a guy's got a gun, different story. I mean, because it doesn't matter. As long as he's not farther than 100 yards from you, you're in trouble if he does something with it. But he said, imagine somebody with a knife 50 feet away. You're telling me that he's going to close 50 feet within like 3 seconds?
Yeah, I didn't know he's a track star.
Yeah. Not happening.
Yeah,
And he said they use that as like he's 50 feet, let's go. And they just go straight to it. And he goes, I want to get that out of police forces because they're basically going into the situation saying, I got the crutch. No problem. I can use it. He's like, now 5 feet, different story. Like you do what you got to do. You do what you got to do, you know? But it's just like these are the little details that like we don't think about in society, but it's very relevant, and it's where they run into problems. And by the way, even in today's society, a lot of things get brushed under the rug and people don't look at it because it's like, oh, you know, it was a violent person and there's no video of it. Yeah. And, you know, he was within the deadly force area.
Yeah. He's within that 5 feet.
Are any of these cops even pulling people over these days? Like, are they making money?
What are the rules? Yeah. Are you allowed? Like, what are the rules? Are you allowed to pull somebody over right now? I don't even know.
Is there quotas right now?
I'm sure there's still. You better get out there and make that money, boy. Or you want a new vest? You better go pull like 6 people over.
I mean, I don't see. I think on the road I've passed like 2 cops.
And they've been just sitting there
texting.
Chilling. Yeah.
Where's the money?
Not taxes. Who knows?
Oh, man. Can't pay. Maybe that's why they can't pay the people. The cops aren't pulling over enough of us.
And if they are, they can't come near you. How am I going to give you a ticket if I can't go near you?
That's what I'm saying. Like, what are they even? What's the process?
Let's go try it out. Let's go get pulled over. We'll find out.
Yeah, let's go do it. Yeah. We'll go find. We got to find one on the Garden State Parkway.
Yeah. I remember the time we didn't get pulled over. It was me, a few of my buddies. This was a while ago, and I don't condone this. We all fell asleep in the car. I wake up and the car's going like, I feel like I'm on a boat rocking. And we're running over mailboxes. And I'm like, yo, wake up.
So what was happening?
I remember I fell asleep drunk. It was like 4 a.m. But I don't condone that. You know, that's, you know.
Oh, wait, he started driving.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
So that's what I mean. Like, that's the kind of, you getting pulled over for doing that? It's like,
man.
Who knows? That's what I mean. Like, what's going to happen?
Society is just, everything's a little upside down right now.
Yeah. And, you know, that's another thing. People will make mistakes. And who says this mistake's worse than that mistake to call the cops?
Yeah, but it's still, hold on, though. There's still a math problem, though.
Yeah.
Forget the fact that the government, and we joke about the government's paid people $1,800, like a personal go fuck yourself, which is nothing. But they've had to print $4 trillion just to get shit like that happening. Yeah. And you have people staying home more than on average. You have people driving less than on average, obviously, this year. You are not, therefore, collecting the same number of tolls and day-to-day taxes. The cops are obviously pulling over less people. Where do you get the money?
The money is not coming in, so it doesn't make sense that things are going up. You know, the stock market is going through the roof. The housing market is going through the roof. But where are people, you know, they're saying all these jobs are going on, you know, but where's the money coming from?
The PPP loans are done. Like, people have burned through that. So it's over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I guess it's there has to be some form of trickle down, but it's so hard to think about.
Yeah.
Because, like, Amazon, again, only employs so many people.
And they don't pay them much. The people that you see don't make much.
They make, I mean, they're up to 15 now at a minimum, but still, it's what a lot of their employees are. They're not making much money.
No, absolutely not. And there's so many of them.
And you really think we're wearing masks 5 years from now?
Well, what's going to change that? Because isn't in England right now coronavirus like mutated and the vaccine doesn't work? That was only the news. I remember reading that yesterday. So there you go. Like,
at some point, I'm telling you this.
In herd immunity, no one's ever going to allow that to happen.
But
that might be the only way. But no one's
allow to happen is one way to put it.
Yeah.
But the other way to put it is where is the line for people? This is something I think about a lot.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a line. And when I say everyone, I'm not talking on an individual basis right now. This is something the entire country is dealing with. Yes, there's a few states that are dealing with it less than, say, here. Fine. But they're the exception, not the rule.
Absolutely.
And at some point, especially people sitting at home, more time to be on their phone, more time to look through the internet, get in trouble on a lot of little rabbit holes. At some point, you are going to have this, I don't know what the term is for it. Maybe it's, I don't mean to be dramatic, but some form of like uprising where people are like, nah.
I can't do this anymore.
Yeah. I'm surprised it hasn't happened yet, to be honest with you.
Maybe that $600 keep him from doing it.
Well, look, I mean, there have been other ways that people have rebelled, and there is a lot of talk online. But again, that's talk. That's hiding behind a keyboard.
Say, just for instance, everybody has to get COVID. They say everybody gets COVID in 2 weeks, you go back to normal. Only the strong survive. What would happen then? I know it's terrible. It's never going to happen.
Actual opinion on that?
What if someone proposed that everybody has to get it, and in 2 weeks we're back to normal? But guess what? Only the strong survive, like in the past.
It's a beautiful, not a beautiful question. That's a terrible word. It's a brilliant question.
Yeah, what is
a brilliant question?
But guess what? 2 weeks we're back. We're ready to go, and everything's back to normal in 2 weeks.
Because it's a hypothetical that I never say never on stuff these days, but pretty close to never would happen. And it's that moral question that you don't want to ask. But if I had to choose, if you were saying to me, that's the only way we go back to normal, even not into perpetuity, I mean like over the next 5 years, that's the only way that we go back to normal within that time frame, I'm doing it.
Absolutely.
I'm doing it, man. Like, and it sucks. Statistically, there will be people I know, including people who are in shape.
Yes.
Who get it the wrong way and die. I might.
Roll the dice.
But that's the thing. Like, when I'm making these arguments with people and discussing it, I preface things I say by making it very clear that there's been some people very close to me in my life who, you know, I was up in North Jersey when this thing was hitting.
Yeah.
Eye of the storm. New York City and then the areas right around it. It was insane.
New York City got smashed.
Right. Yeah. And so I knew people who had this bad. I've said it before on a podcast. One guy I know very well was on a respirator in a coma for 55 days. He lived, which is like stunning, but amazing, amazing story. But I know how bad this can get when it gets bad. I also, though, look at the bigger picture, and I look at the fact that there's a lot of people who the virus is so dangerous they have to test themselves 6 straight days just to know if they have it.
Yeah.
And it's a matter, it seems to me like there's a huge matter of luck just based on viral load you get, genetics, I don't know. But you can't drag the worst onto everyone else. And this is where it gets interesting, because I saw a letter from an ER doc in New York City. He was the best friend of a guy I know, and it got passed along. This is March. This is at the very beginning. And this guy wrote a letter. He had been on the ward for like 4 straight days, so he had 8 hours off or something, and he wanted to sit down and give his thoughts from being eyes on the ground, running the ER. And so what he said is that what you're hearing on the news in these New York City hospitals, what it looks like in the hospitals, it's true. Like it is ugly. We are past capacity. These places you see us building just to have beds, it's real. Like it's a mess. But there's this concept that we look at death from 2 angles. And he explained that you can look at it from what is my chance to survive versus what is my chance to die.
Yeah.
That negativity bias.
Absolutely.
He said the fact is, of the people that come in the hospital, I forget his exact number, but it was in the neighborhood of 97 to 98% of them live. Walk out of there and they're fine.
Absolutely.
And he was saying regardless of age, just overall. And I'm sure older people were a little more fucked and, you know, but let's just...
There's a sliding scale.
Right. Yeah. And so he said, it's ugly. We have more than we can handle, and it's this whole unprecedented situation. But he said, now think of it from the context of a cancer diagnosis, which statistically a lot of Americans get, usually later in life, but some people get it earlier in life, and it can kill at any age, including newborns. He said, if you walked in and I gave you your tests, and then we went back to my office and I walked in and said, I have some really bad news for you. You have cancer. Your whole body sinks. When a patient gets told that, they go, oh my God.
Shot in the gut.
And there's a shot in the gut. Yeah. He said, what is the question they always ask right after that?
How long do I got?
No.
That'd be my first.
Ant goes right to, all right, I'm dying. What do I got?
How much longer do I have to live?
and in this case, the doctor would be like, whoa, slow your roll. Because what he said is that most people would ask, what are my chances?
Yeah.
And so doctors give a percentage. He said, when I have to have this conversation with someone and I just caught like a polyp or,
something I'll cut
segment,
out.
yeah, a segment of cancerous cells. They're never, I know in my head, they're never going to have to do chemo. We're going to cut this fucker out. It's going to be done.
Just cut the size of a fist out of your stomach.
Right. Well, and that one's a little bigger, but exactly. That's 2. Yeah. We're doing a count here. But if I told you that you had a 95% chance to live as an answer to that question, you said, you know what happens every single patient I say that to? Their mood just swung completely the other way.
95%.
They jump up. They're like, oh, fuck, let's get on the table. Yeah. Let's go, baby.
I'm ready.
Oh, I'm good.
95%.
I got this. I'm good. Because they see the positive.
Yeah.
Now, if I look, he said, if I look at someone like that, and cancer's so common that like people are used to hearing the worst, right? Yeah. If I look at them and say, you have a 5% chance to die, would they answer it the same way? Or would they be thinking, ooh.
Because you used the word die.
And so he was...
How you word things.
Yes. Yeah. The point of this doctor's letter
was... die? I can die?
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
He's saying the mentality is that people are thinking of the worst that can happen.
Yeah.
And so it's this chaos theory. And I made one relation to it that was very, very, I thought, interesting. But you tell me if it's terrible. You remember The Dark Knight with the movie?
Yeah. Which one? There was like 3 of them. But the first one,
the one with the Joker. The second one. So with Heath Ledger.
Okay.
When Harvey Dent's in the hospital with his face blown off.
He's pissed.
Right. Joker goes in there and he flips him to become bad.
Yeah.
And if you remember that...
the coin.
Yes. Yeah. If you remember that speech, he gave him this theory where he said, people can't handle chaos and fear.
It's a great, great speech.
And it's so true because he explained, if I told, like, everything's a plan... Mm-hmm. And when things don't go to plan or when people don't know that there's a plan for it, they freak out. Whereas like cancer, once you have it, you know a lot of people have had it and there's a plan. You either have a good chance or you don't. And you fight it, and you lose, you win. But it's a plan.
If I introduce some chaos, what happens?
Yes. Yeah. And so he said, the example was, and I don't, by the way, on the cancer point, I don't mean that.
Yeah, I know.
That
I know
is
what you're
taking the
saying.
highest level.
Yeah.
It's obviously, it's a punch to the gut when you get that. But I mean, you have a precedent with it.
Yeah.
With something new like this, the point he was saying is, if I say that I'm going to blow up one caravan of soldiers or go after 3 people at the grocery store on 5th Avenue, no one freaks out. Everyone goes about their life because that's not, in all likelihood, that's not them. Yeah. They're fine. It's all according to plan. I told them what's going to happen. It doesn't affect them, so they move on. Yeah. But he said, if I come out and say one little innocent mare is going to die, he goes, then everyone loses their mind.
He goes nuts.
And he starts freaking out. He goes, they can't stand it.
Yeah.
Because it's chaos. It's fear. Yeah. And that's what we've done with this.
It's the unknown.
Yes. And I mean, that's what you feed on.
Yeah.
With business. I mean, it's the same. It's the same neighbor. It's the same family of the same problems.
It's all connected. Sure. And it's, it can go one or two ways. And it's usually going to go the bad way with the unknown. Because people are all up in their head, and when they start talking to themselves, it goes bad. You know what I mean? If you were to tell somebody, hey, these are 95% chance to live, all right, but 5% to die. Whoa.
See how you said that, too?
Yeah. It's how it's worded. It's how it's said. It's how it's delivered. And that's what really matters.
What's the number one sales tactic?
For what? There's a little different types of sales.
There are all different types. Yeah. And there's a lot that work positive over the long term. But what's the one that people and businesses use in the short term to be able to just get the next nut? And it works. Fear.
Oh, yeah. What if this could happen? So say if someone had cancer, I beat it. But guess what? You still need this insurance for your kids. Because guess what? You might not beat it. You know what I mean? So say if you're trying to, it all depends on what you're selling, what you're pushing. It all depends.
The entire insurance market is built on fear.
Fear.
And by the way, I view insurance as necessary.
Absolutely.
I do. I'm not. You can't take things to anarchy.
No, without insurance, there'd be anarchy.
Yeah. Right. But I'm saying they may sell 5 policies to someone as opposed to where 3 definitely sufficed.
Yeah.
Because they say, but what if this happens? And you're like, I never thought about jumping off the roof of X tower in this city in that part of the world, but I might do that.
Yeah.
Oh my God, let's get coverage.
Yeah. What if you're out with your friends one night and, you wake up in a coma? Oh, I never thought about that. Who's going to take care of your kids? The minute they bring up your kids,
all bets are off.
Who's going to take care of my wife will be all right, but my kids. Who's going to take care of them?
So true, man.
Yep.
All bets are off with kids.
Kids. Yep. And that's what they do. They put it all on your kids. Who's going to take care of your kids? Whoa, I never thought about that.
That's what they do in politics.
Yep.
What are the next generations going to have?
They all love that.
What country?
This is for the next generation.
What country do you want your kids to grow up in?
That's like the global warming. What about the next generation? Their kids. Guess what? The odds are we're smashing this world right now. You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Oh my God, pollution. We are just ruining this world. We are doing everything we can to just make sure there is no, for the next couple generations.
Yeah. And then, you get the duopoly system playing everyone against each other because the loudest 10% on both sides is who gets the volume online and who gets the volume in the room.
Yep.
Like, what made me sick to my stomach was watching the RNC and DNC over the summer because you just listened to it, and I think they were 2 weeks in a row. So it was like you
back
had
to back.
Yeah, you had 4 days of each, and I could handle 15, 20 minutes a night. I am not going to lie and say I sat there and watched all this shit. I couldn't do
they
it.
push it to such an extreme.
But dude, they're just saying opposite ends of the same sale.
Yeah.
It's not about what are we going to do. It's about the sun will not come up tomorrow if so-and-so is, and it's, trust me, I think the sun comes up a little less pretty much with all of them. Don't get me wrong, but that's the cynic in me. At the end of the day, there's no selling like, here's what we're going to do. They close sales with the happiness and say, jobs, freedom, and your next generation. But there's no substance.
They love to talk shit on the other opponent.
Yes.
And guess what? Back behind doors, they're high-fiving. They're all friends. Yeah. It's all about the win for them. And people think, who's ever president is going to affect me. Unless you're a Fortune 500 guy, you're a CEO, who's ever president doesn't affect you. It's more of your senator, maybe, your governor. And if you're going to wake up every morning and you think that who's ever president and you're going to allow that to affect you, there's a problem. Like if you wake up and say, oh my God, Donald Trump's the president for 20 more days. How do I live with myself? What?
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? What? How does that affect? Like, I understand you don't like him, but go, what does him being the president, you allowing him to ruin your day?
Yeah.
That's what really bothers me about,
I don't know why people were surprised about it though, because frankly, I would say since Clinton, every president, the opposite side, and don't get me wrong, it was definitely more pronounced, especially given social media with Trump than anyone, but the opposite side treated every single day like a crisis while they were in office. And by the way, minus some social mistakes that have aged terribly with like Bill Clinton, he was a very effective president. But if you listen to the Republicans for 8 years, they thought he was Hitler.
Yeah.
Right? And now I will get a lot of Republicans, like, forget the fact that he's obviously like kind of not a good guy.
Yeah.
Just look at the things he did, again, minus things like the crime bill and some of those disasters. You look at just some of the general day-to-day business shit, there are a lot of Republicans I'll talk to now who'll be like, yeah, Clinton,
Clinton did good by the country.
Yeah. He was like a really effective, they'll often say he was a very effective president. And back then, they're like, literally, it's Nazi Germany. like we're all done.
Well, I'm moving.
Yeah, but I don't know why the Trump, like the entire MAGA train was so shocked at all the stuff coming at Trump. And don't get me wrong, it was way over the top, and I think the media is disgusting. But I mean, not that the right wing controls the media like the left wing at all, but did you see the 8 years of Obama and the things they said about him?
They ripped him.
I mean,
he wasn't an American.
He wasn't
His
born
mother's
here.
a liar.
Yeah. He wants to go blow up churches. Yeah, they literally were like, "Oh, he supports Bill Ayers." Like
it's just like you've been saying. It's the 10% on each side that have just lost their shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it's that 80%. You just whatever. Yeah.
And the same people who feed off that are the ones controlling, and I say that literally, controlling this whole pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the other thing. These people are marketers.
Nobody better.
Nobody better.
Yeah.
I heard this, and I don't know if this is online. I've never checked it. But I heard that Chuck Schumer, I think it was, who's been in office now for what, like 40 years? Something like that.
Yeah. I love that. You could be in the Senate for like 60 years.
No, I'm very entertained by Chuck Schumer. I really forget like his politics and everything. I enjoy watching that guy talk. I just think it's hilarious. But he teaches a class. Someone fact check me on this. He teaches a class for incoming Democratic senators and House members, and I believe they said there's one on the right side. I just don't know who does it. I know Schumer was doing it on the left, where when they come into Washington for the first time, he teaches them about marketing and attention. So one of the things Chuck Schumer does, this is going to change your life when you go see this, because now you're going to be looking for it.
Oh, yeah.
He said, congratulations. Sunday is now no longer a weekend day. I don't give a fuck if you take Friday or whatever. Sunday is a work day. And people are like, what do you mean? And not enough people listen to him, but he practices this his entire career, or has practiced it. He said, every Sunday morning, pick a spot in your jurisdiction and host a press conference. I don't care if you're hosting a press conference about the color of the sidewalk. Host a press conference, because guess what's going to happen? Monday morning when the news comes on, who are they covering? They're covering you the day before, and you're out there talking about something, and now you have attention. And he does it.
It's all being 2 steps ahead. You got to be 2 steps ahead.
They
2
are.
steps ahead, and they are. Because you know why? They control it. They control what's out there. They control how it gets out there, and that's it.
I mean, Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, even the guy who's the head of the House for the Republicans, Kevin, whatever the fuck his name
I
is.
thought it was Mitch McConnell, but I could be wrong.
No, Mitch McConnell's the head of Senate. Who's the head of the House? Kevin. He looks like a stereotyped dad from every movie who says something stupid.
Yeah, I know. I've seen him a million times.
Even he, and I gotta check this, I think he's even been in there now for like 12 years or something.
Remember what was it, Bobby the Kennedy that just was in there for like 47 years?
Ted Kennedy?
Ted Kennedy. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. You don't stay there for a long time and gain power more and more every year you're there without being really fucking smart, like politically savvy and marketing savvy. Say what you want about
and
you want
cut through.
Yeah, you want to call all these people evil. I'm cool with that. I think a lot of them are, but they know what they're doing.
No question. And they come out 10 times stronger, 10 times richer.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think like Joe Biden, they were hitting him on some of that, and then they were running the stats, and he was like the 89th poorest senator at all times. He wasn't poor, but it's like, that's how much money some of these people get out of this shit.
As soon as they leave, money just starts coming through every direction.
It's just like, they get the book deals. They go,
Speaking engagement, $2 million.
Yeah, check. Hillary Clinton going to Goldman.
Oh my God.
This will age well. I'll go talk to a bunch of bankers and tell them I'm not going to regulate them.
Yeah,
that's what my party's going to want to hear.
Yeah.
It's like they just. I wonder if they just have like this day where they cross over the abyss. And suddenly they just become this individual, and they don't know that they're this individual.
They don't even recognize themselves in the mirror.
Right? You think that happens?
Yeah, because guess what? They're not really saying what they want to say. They're saying whatever their DNC wants to say. They aren't. You know what I mean? You are just a puppet. You don't get to say I want to be president. They say you're going to be. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? Like the powers that be really say who's going to be.
Do you think that's how they do it?
Absolutely.
Do you think? Yeah, but let's
big
take
money
this,
talks.
Let's take this a step farther.
Okay.
Do you think, Anthony, that there's like a guy who comes and knocks on your door, walks in and says,
I don't know if it's the same guy.
You're going to do this.
Oh, yeah. This so-and-so say, this is what we wanted you to say. Here's your speech. Here's what's going to happen. Absolutely.
You're going to run for office.
Yeah. Oh,
sir.
yeah. How do you think people just start running for office? They find somebody, hey, we like him. Let's put him in the slot. Hey, I could see him being something big in 20 years. Sure.
I wonder what they got on Sanders. Because he's gotten ass fucked.
Every year. Every time he tries to win, he gets blasted. And he's always in the lead. And next thing you know, fourth.
And yet, who is the number... And he's not even in the Democratic Party. I think he's still literally an independent. Who is the number one stumper out there for them after that happens. Bernie Sanders.
Yep.
Like he's out there fighting for him. And I'm just like, what do they have on him? Because like you believe him. You believe him when he talks. Like, think what you want of him politically. You're like, that guy really believes what he's saying. And then you see him come stump for these people after that happens. You're like, what the fuck happened?
Yeah, exactly. And you pay me back with nonstop ass rape. It's 3.
It's 3. Yeah. So Anthony is probably the biggest fan of The Sopranos I know, and that's saying something, because my whole crew in college, we would have The Sopranos playing in the background as our elevator music in the house at all times.
Yeah.
Our house sign was a rendering of The Sopranos. And so I always thought, oh, the biggest fans of this show have to be in here because we were all from Jersey and we'd all grown up watching it. But this dude.
Yeah, I think I've seen it like 22 times.
I think that's a low estimate, pal.
No, I'm pretty sure you've got to remember it's 86 hours.
It's 86 hours.
Yeah. So that's and that you pay me back with nonstop ass rape was already. Remember when they found out they were stealing his Amex?
Oh yeah. It's such a timeless show.
Yeah. And now talk about who stole the jacket from.
That was the first.
No, the first that laid the groundwork. Yeah, for everybody, for Breaking Bad. You want to name it. That basically cemented TV to what it is today, and basically put the movie business out of business.
Have you like read up on the history of how the show came together and everything? I assume.
Yeah,
I feel like you would know all this.
Yeah,
stuff.
Absolutely. You know what's funny is none of the people, like the cast, thought it was going to be anything.
Yeah.
They thought it was about a musical. They thought it was. They were like, "What's a musical?"
I heard that.
And you know when they shot the pilot, Robert Elaire, who played Anthony Jr., thought like, this is going to be big, and then Tony Serpico said, "Nah, kid. 9 times out of 10,
I've been on here a few times.
Yeah, I've done this." He goes, "Nah, kid. 9 times out of 10, the pilot don't get past the pilot."
Which is true.
Yeah,
still true today.
Absolutely.
But they were so obsessed with a vision, and they, at the dawn of HBO, which went around the FCC and could go there with content with no commercials.
Yeah, because how they presented it to the viewer.
Yeah.
It was a first of many different things, and everybody piggybacked on them.
They nailed it too.
Oh my gosh, the acting was second to none.
Not even just that though. Like it's real.
It's real. Yeah.
That's what it's like.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's it's great. I don't even know what to say about it.
Where I lived in the middle of like all where they shot. So I used to drive by the house all the time.
Love it. I've been dying to go when I went up there. Yeah, when I went to SopranosCon, we were going to go.
Wait. You went to SopranosCon?
Yeah.
What is that?
All right. So 2019 was the first one. They were going to have another one this year, but they had a virtual one. It was when they had the whole cast come and you could meet the cast. There was different levels that you could get. Like we got the VIP level. So we got to go to the Bada Bing and hang out with the cast, and then go to the after party with the cast and hang out and get all different passes. And
where was this?
See Caucus.
So wait. So you went to Satin Dolls?
Yes.
Like the actual
Satin Dolls.
So Bada Bing, which is the strip club in the show.
Yes.
Is really called Satin Dolls, and it's off of Route 80 where Route 17 is up in Lodi.
Yeah.
We used to pass it all the time. Guys I worked with went there back in the day all the time.
Yeah.
Didn't that just get shut down though?
Well, it was there a year ago when I was there.
Yeah, and I think it just got shut down because the guy
it definitely looked like it was struggling a little bit.
Well, the guy who runs it is,
Okay. He's affiliated.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was going for a while. But they had it in Secaucus, and you went with the cast to the Bing afterwards?
Yes, the cast went, and then
how many people went?
Well, it all depended on what you got. So if you got like a regular ticket, you got 2-day pass. But if you got a VIP ticket, you got to go and hang out with the cast there, and then you got to go to another after party at Rick's Cabaret with the cast.
Wait, where's Rick's Cabaret?
New York City. So you hopped on a bus with them and went to Rick's Cabaret.
Where in New York City is that?
It's basically Manhattan. I would say it's definitely.
Yeah, but like what part? I've never heard of that. Actually.
It's where Howard Stern goes. Remember, he's always it's definitely Manhattan, like a nice area. You'd have to check where it is, but it's definitely in a nice area. It's where Howard Stern goes.
Got it. And did you like chill with the cast?
Not really. You got to meet them, talk to them, but a few you got to hang out with, but they really kept you away.
So who went of the cast? Who went to the strip club?
Not many. Not many of them went. A few of them went. It was mostly handled before they went. They were doing it for like 8 hours, so a lot of them were tired. But they went and showed their face and left. Like the whole cast was there.
And what were they? Was it like Comic-Con where they're sitting up on a stage and just talking?
Comic-Con for Sopranos. Yeah.
And they were just talking the whole time for 8 hours?
And then they each had like a little booth like this, and you could walk up and hang out with them.
That's kind of cool. How many people went to that?
A lot. There was a lot. But then there was different passes for different levels. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There was, like, when they were going to find places to shoot, they were so obsessed with getting the actual feel. So they had the set for the indoors in Long Island City.
Yeah, Silver Cup.
Yeah. And you went there too, I thought, right?
No, we didn't
Not
go
for
there,
that, but
I've been to like Satrial, stuff like that. I've been to a few different places.
And Satrial's they knocked down.
Yeah, it's really called Centrilles or something like that.
It was called Centilles,
something with a C,
I think.
yeah.
Or Centanis, that's it. Up in Kearney.
Yeah.
But they knocked that down. But when they were going to do this, they wanted everything to be in the actual neighborhoods, to be in Essex County, to be where these guys would be.
They only shot in New Jersey.
And they were,
yeah,
dude, they were anal about it.
Absolutely. They only shot in New Jersey, and they said that actually helped with the feel for the characters.
Yeah. So when I moved there, because I'd always been a South Jersey guy, and when I went up there after college, one of my buddies had told me, he's like, we're big fans of The Sopranos. There's like a map. You can probably learn landmarks that way. And lo and behold, you go online, there is a map called, I don't know if it's still there, but it was literally called like Sopranos map.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at it like, well, this isn't going to do anything because you hit it and there's just red lights all over North Jersey because it was everywhere they filmed in the show.
Yeah.
And like you couldn't go anywhere without there being somewhere they were.
Yeah, they were everywhere.
Yeah. I lived right next to, for a while, the George Washington slept here house. I could see it from my porch. I was fucking dying when I saw that. But what was the one? Oh yeah, the Gloria Trillo car dealership.
Yeah, the Mercedes.
Yeah, that's actually like a huge Mercedes dealership.
Yeah.
Would pass it all the time.
They used
the real
actual
one.
locations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
It was insane. That show, though, I don't know that you can ever top it. And how much of it do you think is because it was the first versus it's just perfect and you can't top it?
I think that all comes together, that it was the first. That it is such a good, to be called an 86-hour movie, the way they filmed it, the way they put it together, that's tough to do. The way he built it like that to be an 86-hour movie, not just episode by episode where some series you can come in season 3 and no, you didn't miss anything. If you didn't start this from the beginning, you have no idea.
And Jim Gandolfini was unbelievable. I mean, it's like, because he also wasn't at all like that in real life as far as
nicest guy.
As far as like mannerisms and how he talks. He didn't talk with a North Jersey accent, even though he was from North Jersey. He didn't have that growl. He didn't have that. He was such a laid back guy, and he just embodied that role.
They said it would take such a toll on him, being ruthless like that he would miss days. And then the days he missed, he would make up to it by buying you a gift. Like he bought like the whole cast like a Rolex watch one day, gave out cash. Like he was a really good guy.
Yeah. It's still crazy to me.
And then his son's going to play him, which is even cooler.
Yeah. What's that new one called?
The Many Saints of Newark. It's March 12th, I think it comes out. But it's going to be on HBO Max. It's not going to be in the theaters.
I kind of like that. I mean, they're adjusting. That's smart.
They have to,
Yeah. And that's going to take place in what? The 60s and 70s?
Yeah,
like
during
a
the Newark
precursor?
riots.
So his son is playing a young Tony.
Young Tony, yeah.
So James Gandolfini's son in real life.
His real son is playing him.
Wow.
And then it's all about like Uncle Junior and his dad.
I hope that's going to be great.
Well, it's David Chase and all the same producers, same writers, so it should be on. I hate to say on par, but I hope.
I have faith.
Yeah, I have faith.
Because it's them doing it. But I hope it's going to be great just because it's like you're pitching a perfect game and say, no, let's do an extra inning. You got to be careful with that.
Let's go to the 10th.
Yeah, and look, you also don't have Jim.
And you don't have Edie. who was
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. You don't have her either. She was incredible.
Yeah.
But the problem with it was a lot of those guys got typecasted for the rest of their career.
Yeah.
And like great actors, Mike Imperioli played Chris, who's unbelievable and like a true actor.
Yeah, I really love this craft.
He can't get many roles.
None of them can.
And he's like kind of accepted it, but
Thank God they're making so much money, or else they would really be sad. Like Seinfeld. It was almost like Seinfeld where George Costanza.
yeah.
That's it.
He never got. Has Jason Alexander been in anything?
He was in that movie, Shallow Hal, Once a Gal, whatever that was. Remember? Remember that? He was pretty good in that.
Jack Black.
It was a good movie.
Was that Gwyneth Paltrow?
Yeah, it was a great movie. Funny as hell.
Yeah, that's a throwback. But Seinfeld, they're making literally billions of dollars in the after effects or whatever it's called. Yeah. So getting syndicated on Fox and all these shows or all these channels.
Forget how many countries they're in and how many different languages Seinfeld.
What's South Park's setup though? Or not South Park. What's the Sopranos setup though?
Well, Sopranos is huge in like Australia. It's huge in Europe, huge in England. Like they're all over the place too.
But do they get paid anywhere near what Seinfeld does? And the reason I ask is because they're not mainstream cable. They were
HBO.
Yeah.
Remember they were on A&E for a little bit. So
I do. Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's where when I was a kid,
that's where you saw it.
I saw the end of the show. I think when it was on HBO, I was young. I was like 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then immediately after the show was done, it would play on A&E.
Yeah.
And so I saw it when I was maybe like 13 years old. And then I watched the whole thing and I was like, holy shit.
It's awesome.
Oh my God.
The music. I love the music more now than ever that they have in it.
Yeah.
Led Zeppelin.
The music's perfect.
Yeah. Everything about it, they didn't miss one single beat. They didn't miss anything. That's what made it perfect.
Well, have you ever watched The Wire?
Yeah, I like The Wire, but it wasn't really for me that much.
The reason I ask, okay, that's fair. But the reason I ask is because I do wonder, because that was HBO as well, and that started 3 years after The Sopranos started. A lot of people will say, and I've entertained it too, because I was blown away by that show. A lot of people say that if The Wire had happened first, it would be The Wire is the greatest of all time. And Sopranos would be where The Wire is right now.
My opinion?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
It didn't reach as many people, in my opinion.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I remember everybody's parents would watch it and send their kids out of the room.
Yeah.
It was, everybody watched it. Everybody talked about it on the job sites. Everybody talked about it everywhere. Even the family it was based off of, the FBI has filming like stuff of them talking. Oh, they're basing that guy off of me. Mm-hmm. That's me. Oh, that's me. Like it was everywhere.
They are living up there and knowing some people who grew up in those circles, and it's in North Jersey. If you have an Italian last name, you know who all these people are because they're leeches, man. Like they come in, they take their cut. If they say it's, hey, we want a piece of this, that's what they do. So I was very surprised at how big it still was. That was shocking. And it's huge up there. But to a man, people would be like, yeah, this is like a documentary. This is exactly this is what these people, and then I would get the stories, like the actual stories from people of like, oh, when this guy did this to me 2 years ago or whatever. And they would then explain, remember this that happened in the show? It's just like that. And I'd be like, wow, yeah, it was.
Yeah. They definitely used a lot of real life stuff, which is cool.
Yeah. My uncle, fake uncle, but he lives up in Fairfield.
Okay.
And he missed his calling as an actor. The funniest human being I've ever seen in my life. Not at all in any way, shape, or form anywhere near the mafia. But if you weren't from North Jersey and just heard him and met him once, you'd be certain he's the boss of the whole goddamn thing. Oh, yeah. And so his wife was pregnant with their third kid back in, I guess, like 2005. And he's out at work because he ran a company right in town. So he's literally around the corner.
Yeah.
She gets a knock on the door. and she answers the door, and it's 3 producers from The Sopranos.
Wow.
And they say, we really want to use the exterior of this house, and then we'll rebuild the interior at Silvercup. But we want to use the exterior for Chris Moltisanti's house.
Wow.
For the last 2 seasons there. And she looked at him. She was about 7 months pregnant, and she said, guys, I need you to leave right now, because if my husband comes home at any point, he is going to say yes right away, and I'm about to pop out a kid, and I can't do this.
You guys at my house
so
every day.
They're like, I'm sorry. She's like, no, I'm sorry, but if it were another time, maybe, but please leave. So they leave, and she tells her husband about it. He whips it home. Where are they? We get him back here right now. So when you see him in season 7, when he's ripping up his front lawn,
Paulie tears his lawn up.
that is literally what my uncle's house looks like.
Wow.
Like the same thing, and they got it one town over.
Yeah.
He
Perfect.
blew it.
Blew it. Could've been
She
his
blew it
house.
for him.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Nick, had he
"Fran."
got any cash from that? Like any kind of...
Oh yeah.
Wow.
Oh yeah. And that was another thing. Like they were gonna pay.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like $2 either. Like you were getting cash from it.
You're talking credits, money coming in forever.
Yeah. But if they had done that and then met him, the proprietor of the house,
Yeah. He would
he
have a
would
little,
have 1,000. No.
little cameo.
No. He would have been casted.
Oh my god.
They would have said, we're writing in a role.
something.
He is that entertaining of a guy. And I used to watch, after I knew him, I would watch guys on the show, and I'm like, he's so much better. So much
But
more
can he do
believable.
it with the lights, camera, action?
I've seen him do it with cameras.
All right, yeah.
It's unreal.
They did that for Janice. You know, when she got on that bus after they killed her husband, after she killed her fiance husband, she was done. That was it. But she was so good, they brought her back.
Really? I
After
didn't
she
know that.
shot Richie, that was it. They put her on the
R.I.P.
bus.
Richie Aprile.
He's gone. She was done too. But she was so good, they brought her back.
What was her name? That's
Janice.
John Turturro's sister.
Ada Totoro. Yes.
Yeah. She was incredible, man.
And did you know
Oh, you know why they did that? Because the mom died in real life, and they
they
needed to
needed a
replace
woman?
that
Yes,
figure.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then did you know John Turturro played James Gandolfini in The Night Of? James Gandolfini started filming The Night Of. The show on HBO, it was about the cab driver who, in his cab, somehow something, I forget what happened, but it was a really good show. They started filming it with Gandolfini, but he died. And then John Turturro had to take over, and they had to film it all over again.
Wait a second. So they weren't that far into it.
No. Yeah.
Okay. But then it just happened to be John who did it.
Yeah. It's a really big show on HBO. It's called The Night Of.
I never saw that.
Yeah, it's really good. Watch it.
He actually did a movie that was excellent. I mean, it's like kind of a chick flick, but he did it with Julia Richard-Dreyfuss.
Yeah, Julia Louis-Dreyfus, yeah.
Louis Dreyfus from Seinfeld.
Yeah.
I forget what it was called, but I guess it was his last movie because it came out after he died, and it was so sad to watch because he played literally the polar opposite of Tony Soprano in that,
Yeah.
and he was excellent. Just had that range.
The Drop. He's good in that.
That was it. The other one
And
was with Tom
my
Hardy.
cousin hates it because they make him look like a loser, so he won't even watch it.
Al?
Yeah, he hates it because he's not like a good guy. Like he's
He managed to not totally be typecasted after that. He's the one that kind of got above it. He
Killing Him Softly.
Yep.
Was great in that.
He was shooting, and that was where he was close as far
Yeah.
as the type of role. But
Yeah.
he was shooting movies while he was doing The Sopranos. What was the one he did? The Mexican with Brad Pitt and was it Julia Roberts?
I'm not sure, but I know how he got the role as a Sopranos was they loved him in the movie with my God, why am I forgetting? It's sorry, it's the movie where it's a mob movie with Harvey Keitel plays the guy with the dreads.
I don't know this. A mob movie with Harvey Keitel. I don't know it.
It's
Wow.
awesome. Yeah.
That's gonna bother me.
Yeah, Google it real quick.
All right, let's Google that. And when was that? Like right before The Sopranos?
Right before, and they saw him, and they told Edie Falco, "This is who you're going to be with. Check out this scene."
That's interesting. Sometimes, and it's funny, like you ask people the greatest show of all time.
Mm-hmm.
They say The Sopranos. You ask people the greatest movie of all time.
It's Gary Oldman. Sorry, not Harvey Keitel. Gary Oldman.
Oh, got it.
So you can cut this eventually.
No, we'll just leave that. It's cool. Right. But they, like a lot of people will say The Godfather is the best movie of all time. And they're both different, but mob related. And it's funny how the stories came together similarly because The Godfather was a disaster while they were filming it. It had all these problems.
Money.
Oh, yeah. The studio didn't want Al Pacino. Francis Ford Coppola said, nope, it has to, like he threw a catatonic fit.
They wanted it to be the other guy, Sonny. I forget who played Sonny.
They wanted Jimmy Caan in there, but then they liked Jimmy Caan as Sonny, and so they wanted Robert Redford or
Robert Redford. That was it. It was Robert Redford.
Martin Sheen as Michael. Like, could you imagine the Sicilian Michael who takes this whole arc and it's fucking, no offense, Martin Sheen's a great actor, but Martin Sheen playing him
doesn't make sense.
They have film of these guys trying out for the role.
Yeah,
it's terrible.
Yeah, you couldn't see, and that's why he wanted Pacino so bad.
All right, there was 8mm. Is that it?
No, Gary Oldman.
Night Falls on Manhattan. Midnight at the Garden of Good and Evil.
Now, if you search Gary Oldman and James Gandolfini, it'll come up.
All right, I'm doing it. James Gandolfini and Gary Oldman. I never heard that before. True Romance.
True Romance.
Duh.
Gandolfini was awesome in it.
I've never seen that. And that does make sense because whenever someone brings it up, like True Romance, I'm like, oh, that's one I haven't seen.
Yeah, watch it.
So Gary Oldman has dreadlocks in
He's dreadlocks and he's like he's just, it's so hard to explain what he is. He's like a white guy, but I can't explain. He's a white guy with dreads.
So he dropped the British accent.
Yes, he has a hardcore, like, gangster accent.
Gary Oldman is low-key one of the best actors you'll ever see.
Oh, my God. Him and Denzel were so good together.
Wait, what?
Yeah, the movie, remember, it's Mila Kunis is in it.
Denzel Washington, Mila Kunis, and Gary Oldman were in a movie
Remember
together.
they played, it's a futuristic movie, and Gary Oldman's blind, and Denzel's blind with the book. They went the Bible.
Oh, the Book of Eli.
Book of Eli, yeah. That's Gary Oldman.
Holy shit, it is.
Yeah.
Wow, it's been a long time. That movie feels like it came out yesterday, but my God,
10 years ago, probably.
Yeah, I did see that. That was a solid movie.
Yeah, really good movie.
But he was everything from the lead cop in Batman, where he was terrific, to Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy.
That was a good movie.
To Sirius Black in Harry Potter with the fucking long hair and shit. I got to see this True Romance. I'm sure that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
He's got range, man.
He does. He's one of my favorite.
Yeah. The other thing I should mention here is that The Sopranos had a huge comeback with COVID because people were home, and so maybe Gen Zers and younger millennials who never watched it now had things to do. They're like, oh, I'll try this out.
It's huge with 20-year-olds.
Huge.
Absolutely. And I listened to the Talking Sopranos Podcast, and they talk about that, how it made a total comeback.
How is that podcast?
It's pretty good. It started off slow, but it's pretty good.
And that is Sharippa and Imperioli?
Yeah, and they bring on someone new like every episode.
Who do they, like someone from the cast?
Cast, production, David Chase, everybody. It's everything.
Are they just going episode by episode?
Yeah, 86 episodes, yes.
So they're going to do an 86 episode podcast.
Yep, and they're on like 30-something now.
That's genius.
Yeah.
That's such a good way to reach the audience. And people love that behind the scenes, man.
It's really, and that's what hooks people in, to hear that stuff that you didn't know about.
What's some of the craziest shit they talked about?
They partied. I didn't know how hard they partied.
Yeah.
I didn't have any. They would party all night and go shoot the next morning. I had no idea.
You go to a lot of places in New York that are the last places you would think.
Yeah.
And there's a picture of them in there.
Dive bars.
Sober.
Yeah.
Not sober.
Yeah. And they said David Chase would make you act out like 3 different times and make you feel so little. They said, oh my God, he hated me. They all would say that. Oh my God, I thought David Chase hated me. Next thing you know, he wants me for the role.
He's such an interesting guy because he has no personality and very little people skills, just from like what people say. I've never really seen it, and I obviously don't know him, but he had such a vision for it and was so OCD to the vision that as it started coming together, everyone there saw how great it was, and then they were just willing to deal with that. Like, all right, this guy, you know, he's playing chess.
They talk about that. No one was allowed to go off the script, not one word.
Nothing.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I like that.
Nothing. But he was like really strict with regular things that he hated about TV. This is why he changed TV. This is what I want your thoughts on. He hated how on TV they would do things for budget. So the most obvious example is TV would use its own film score, and when things would be getting dramatic, you'd hear the little piano.
A composer. They get their own composer and cheap out.
Which he ruined that. I can't watch TV shows that do that. I borderline can't watch them.
Terrible.
Because of him. And so he had the biggest music spend of all time and never been done before.
He spent like $100 million on music.
Oh, yeah.
Plus.
He had all the best music on there, and he made it a part of the show using original songs that are all the classics, and it was a part of the theme. But he also hated the production stuff that you and I don't think about.
Yeah.
So he didn't like walk and talks. When you're watching TV shows and you see two characters walking like down a hallway and talking, and it'll be a perfect scene where they start on one end of the hallway and they finish on the other end. As the viewer, you don't notice that they're finishing on the other end and that's not realistic. That's not how it goes.
Exactly.
But David Chase noticed that and said, "We're not going to do it."
Plus, you got to add in footsteps. You got to record the voices after because there's so much echoing in the hallways.
Yeah.
It was fake, and he wanted it to be as authentic as possible.
He also hated anything from behind.
You never see that. Yeah.
Never wanted to see the back of a head.
Yeah, why? What's the point of that?
I think I saw a quote. I'm not sure if I'm remembering this right, but he was saying the biggest thing the biggest asset an actor has for you to feel something as a viewer along these lines is you can see their expressions and how they're reacting to things. And he said when you see a back of a head, you don't see any of that.
You could figure out the scene without even hearing it with that.
Exactly. I think that was his point. And then his writers and his staff were always, they had that love-hate relationship where they're like, this fucking guy. But not Terrence Winter, the other one, Matthew Weiner, went out and wrote Mad Men immediately after.
He wrote a lot of different big things.
Oh, yeah. And Mad Men immediately became one of the greatest shows of all time.
Yeah.
And so one of the things he did there as a little fuck you to David Chase, his old boss, was he made the logo of Mad Men the back of Don Draper's head.
Yeah.
It was hilarious. But that's just because like David Chase would be anal about that stuff and he wouldn't bend.
No, not an inch for anybody. I love back to the music, the Led Zeppelin. They said like Led Zeppelin wouldn't let anybody have their music, but the Sopranos were so big. They said when you went to buy a song, it would take 3 weeks. They said for them it would take 3 hours to get that song approved by the band.
Wow. And it helped. Look, it helped not just because it landed as a perfect casting, but also because of the connections it gave. It was a huge help having little Steven.
Huge.
On the show.
Yeah.
Because he was so connected across the industry. He knew all these guys. He could go to them and say, "Can you do me a favor?"
Yeah, help me out. And did you know that Artie Bucco and Moltisanti were friends? They lived together off camera, like before they were buddies. They went to school together. Everything.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
And they all became like such a family through the show. The best shows do that.
Yeah, you have to. It's just like work.
Every day.
Yeah. It's almost your second, and it really is your second family.
And you're seeing people vulnerable all the time. Because acting is such this...
You got to dig deep.
Yeah. They just nailed it. It ages better and better every year.
It's like a fine wine.
Yeah.
It doesn't get old, which makes a good TV show. I could watch the same episode 3 times in a row and love it just as much.
I'm going on 4 years without having watched it, which is by far the longest I've ever gone, and I'm so excited about it. I'm gonna see how long I can go, because when I go to watch it again, it's gonna be unbelievable. I've gone 2 years without watching The Godfather. I'm doing this on purpose. I need to.
Yeah.
I need to appreciate the art again.
Well, you know what's funny? Each time it gets a little bit better, and you learn something new. Like you'll see something. Oh, I didn't notice that last time. Ooh, I didn't notice this, and that's what I like about it.
Yeah, like all the little details they had were hysterical. Whether it be Paulie's, what's it called? The car horn. Like you can't make this stuff up, and you know they sat up in the writer's room for 3 hours on that one thing.
Yeah,
going, what is his car horn gonna sound like?
They also say whenever he had a scene with somebody, he would get together with them and say, "You look at me, I look at you." They said he always had to get his mug on the screen.
That's not what happened. Listen, you look at me. You understand?
Yeah.
You look at me.
And then you look back at him.
Don't you fuck with me. You look back at me.
A lot of them were poor. Do you know he was living with his mother in an apartment, Tony Serpico, before he got this role?
He was in some movies, though.
Was living in a studio apartment before this happened. Yeah, but he wasn't like...
Wait, Uncle June?
Was living in a studio apartment before he got the Sopranos role. A studio.
Dominic Chianese.
Great.
Fucking amazing actor.
He sung at SopranosCon. Sung for like 20 minutes.
He can still sing?
Yeah. He looked like he was in better shape than Tony Serpico looked really bad. It was sad how bad he looked. He had to leave. Like he was in such bad shape.
Yikes.
He definitely...
Such a tough guy, too.
Exactly.
And he was a real mobster back in the day when he was a kid.
I love when he killed his fake mom's friend and robbed her.
What was her name? Aunt.
It was like Mill or Mel. I forget her name.
Aunt Millie.
Yeah, Millie. Because when I was a little kid, you guys were old. Now I'm old, you're still old. He choked her with a pillow. He put a pillow on her face.
You motherfucker! There used to be an app back in the day, early on in the iPhone, where it was just Uncle Paulie quotes. And you would just play it, and it would be terrible one-liners, but they're hysterical.
Oh, he's the best.
So funny.
Yeah, I've never seen a show with so many characters that you could go days of just talking about. They were all awesome.
Yeah, and they took chances. Like they brought in Steve Sciarippa, who
out of nowhere.
Steve Sciarippa was a comedian, but first he was, I believe he was the security or
he would fill the people. He would get the acts.
That's it.
Yeah,
that's it. And so he wasn't necessarily an actor, but he was a big Italian guy.
Took a shot at it.
They took a shot at it and just nailed it. And then they would do all these little things on set. You ever hear about that one in Pine Barrens? When
he comes out with the dildo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a scene where Jim Gandolfini starts laughing his ass off at Bobby Baccare, Steve Sciarippa's character, coming into the room. And it's supposed to be keeping a straight face. And every time Baccare would come in or Sciarippa would come in, they couldn't get Jim to laugh really, really hard. So he finally comes in, I don't know, the 6th or 7th time and has an 18-inch dildo that you can't see on the camera.
Well, because they didn't want James to see his outfit. His outfit was supposed to look like a, with the rat, with the yellow. Supposed to look like nerdy. And he already saw it, so it wasn't funny anymore. So they had to figure out something to be funny.
Is that guy dead, by the way? The Russian?
No, he's not. In a scene that got cut, when they go to bring more money to Slava, he's sitting there at the table with part of his head missing. And he's like, from missing a part of his head. And so he can't talk.
What does Slava say?
Oh,
crazy what happened to him.
Yeah. Something like that. But they say what happens. And then they all lock eyes. And Paulie and Christopher lock eyes at him. And they say you can tell that he remembers, but he just can't say or even, you know what I mean? It was a scene that got cut.
But it was a cut scene.
A cut scene.
So we don't know.
So you don't know. But yeah, he's alive. Who stole Paulie's car and the money? He did.
Yeah. What was he, an interior decorator?
Yeah, his house looked like shit.
That's one of the greatest.
He killed 16 Czechoslovakians.
He killed like 16 fucking Czechoslovakians.
Really killed 16 Chechen rebels.
Oh my God.
He's with the Interior Ministry.
What was it? A universal remote? Put remote back on table.
Before you came here, you wiped your ass barehanded, he said.
Place remote
back on docking
down
station.
On docking station. Oops. Yeah. I just love how nonchalant.
I love when they broke his windpipe. What are you, a doctor now? He's like, you're killing the guy. I think I broke his windpipe, he says. What are you, a doctor now?
But like, you see all these guys, and you know this happens. They get in a situation like that. They think they kill a guy. In this case, normally they actually did, but they didn't.
Yeah.
And they're like, find the nearest rug.
His own rug.
Let's roll him up and put him in the trunk. Yeah. Like, could you imagine driving a car a mile with a body in the trunk, minus like just going down the turnpike? And you want to stop at
Roy Rogers.
Yeah,
with a body in the trunk.
Yeah, let's get a burger.
Yeah,
we'll go bury him in the Barrens. We'll go to AC.
We'll make a day out of this.
Oh my God, I can't not think about every time I drive through the Pine Barrens. I'm just like, there it is.
We'll get our joints comped.
That's a line that should have never died.
No.
Why do people not say that?
Because he has so many. There's so many one-liners. So.
Yeah, but like people don't say that as
we'll get our joints.
Yeah,
comped.
Talking about blowjobs. Yeah, they're not.
We'll get our joints comped.
It was Richie Aprile the first time going, oh, she comped my joint.
Yeah, whose joint you comp when he gave her the money?
Whose joint you comp?
They wanted him to be Tony. He actually tried out. Not tried out, but
that wouldn't have worked.
No, exactly.
That wouldn't have worked.
A few guys did. His brother Jackie Aprile also tried out for Tony.
Now what the hell is his name again? Michael. Oh my God, he played Grandma in the Rounders.
Yeah,
right before Sopranos. Michael. That's so bad. I forget his name.
If I heard that,
he's actually a great actor, and I don't think we could ever say someone would have worked as Jim now in hindsight, knowing. But it's like a shame that he was in the show for such a short time because he was a phenomenal actor.
Same with Pussy.
Yeah. That was the first scene of Sopranos I ever saw.
He gets whacked.
Mm-hmm.
And
tell me you wouldn't be hooked on that show if you saw that scene on the boat. I was like, what is this?
David Chase used to call people and tell you were getting killed. Well, a few of the actors got pissed off about that, so he started meeting people and telling them face to face.
It's like it's almost art meets real life.
It is, yeah. It's amazing.
We're gonna whack you.
We're going to take you out.
Sorry.
Don't forget the money you're making. It's not just like you're killing me off my favorite thing I'm doing. You're also cutting my pocket out from under me. So it definitely had to hurt. And did you know Big Pussy used to own like bars back in the day?
New Rochelle. Yeah.
And Montesanti used to go there at 18. He would let underage people in drinking.
These Italians, they all know each other, man.
They all know each other.
Are networked.
Yeah.
They know what's going. It's amazing, but they really do.
Yeah.
They know who knows who. But what about the fact, what's happening right now with TV shows, period? What's happening with movies? There is stuff coming out, but there's so many restrictions on where you're allowed to shoot or what. Everything costs a lot more. It's taking a lot longer. Are we even getting quality things to come out now in 2021?
You're either going to get like indies, which, some people like indies, I hate them. Or you're going to get the big time budget films that can afford it. Like the Marvel. You're going to get a lot of
What
Marvel.
about TV shows, though?
Well, they're still popping, the big network, they're still popping out their favorite shows. Walking Dead still popping out shows. I do know that. His Dark Material has more seasons coming. There's a lot of shows still popping shows up because everybody's getting COVID tested.
Yeah.
They're just making it sure that you stay in the bubble.
You hear the Tom Cruise freak out?
That was great. Oh my God. No, I loved his freak out. Who's that anchor that got in trouble for sexually harassing women? And he freaked out on him about like vaccines and stuff.
No, I did not hear this.
Oh, it was like a few years ago.
Hold on.
It was amazing.
Oh shit! Was this with Matt Lauer?
Yeah,
that's the one. Oh my God!
He's a good guy.
There's a name. Matt Lauer, the rape button guy.
Yeah. Didn't he like promise women, get them like on Fox News or something, and then he just totally raped them? So, what did he do?
I don't know.
Sexual assault. He definitely got charged.
He literally had a button underneath his.
Yeah.
I shouldn't be laughing, but it literally
locked the doors.
If you're the security guy who's putting that in,
how much money did he tip him?
You got to go to jail. You know what you're doing. Oh, I'd like a button that I can click below my desk with one index finger to lock the doors.
Here, John. Here's $5,000. Yeah. Oh, your kids have a good Christmas this year.
It's funny you say this. I watched this like a couple months ago. Hold on. me pull this up. This is like when they're going back and forth on like Ritalin.
Yeah.
No. Oh my God.
Ritalin and psychiatry drugs.
Hold on.
And Brooke Shields when she had postpartum.
Oh my God.
And he said exercise would be better than the pills she takes for postpartum.
All right, hold on. I got it up here. I'm gonna put it up on this screen. Oh yeah, because I forgot about. God, he's been with some women, man. Here we go.
Yeah.
Matt Lauer with hair.
Yeah, he's got a good kill list.
Here we go.
You're going to see a fiery Tom Cruise talk about his attack on Brooke Shields.
You're going to see a fiery Tom
antidepressants
Cruise.
And Ritalin for kids. Here's a sneak peek. It's very impressive to listen to you because clearly you've done the homework and you know the subject.
And you should. And you should do that also because just knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible in knowing
I'm
really.
not prescribing Ritalin, Tom. And
You should be responsible about the medicine on this network.
We'll see that coming up in our next half hour. And the tone of the discussion took a turn.
He just looks over at the camera.
I've never agreed with psychiatry, ever. Before I was a Scientologist, I never agreed with psychiatry. And then when I started studying the history of psychiatry, I started realizing more and more why I didn't agree with psychiatry. And as far as the Brooke Shields thing is, look, you gotta understand, I really care about Brooke Shields.
He's so acting right now.
Good actor.
He's acting.
Wonderful and talented
Yeah.
woman.
Look at those eyes.
Look at that. He's using that famous
I
look.
want to see her do well. And I know that psychiatry is a pseudoscience.
But Tom, if she said that this particular thing helped her feel better, whether it was the antidepressant or going to a counselor or a psychiatrist, isn't that enough?
Matt, you have to understand this. Here we are today.
Shut the fuck up,
I
man.
talk out against drugs and psychiatric abuses of electric shocking people against their will, of drugging
Who's getting
children
electric shock?
with them not knowing the effects of these drugs. Do you
Look
know
at the lean
what
forward.
Adderall is? Do you know Ritalin? Do you know now that Ritalin is a street drug? Do you understand that?
The difference is this was
no,
not
Matt,
against
Matt,
her
I'm
will,
ask-
though.
Matt, I'm
This
ask-
wasn't
Matt, I'm
against
asking you a
Brooke's will.
question. Matt, I'm asking you a question.
I understand
Do-
there's
no,
abuse.
Oh, he's
of
big
all of
dogging
these
him.
No,
things.
you see, here's the problem. You don't know the history of psychiatry.
'Cause I do.
Aren't there examples, and might not Brooke Shields be an example of someone who benefited from one of those drugs?
All it does is mask.
Oh,
the
they're
problem,
cutting this up,
Matt.
too.
And if you understand the history of it, it masks the problem. That's what it does.
That's what they do best.
That's all it does. You're not getting
wonder
to the
what they
reason
cut.
why. There is no such thing as a chemical imbalance.
So
In a
postpartum depression
No such
to
thing
you
as a
is
chemical
kind
imbalance.
of
All right, Dr.
little
Cruz.
psychological gobbledygook?
No, I did not say that.
I'm just asking, what would you call it?
Matt, that is that post. Now you're talking about two different things.
But that's what she went on the
No.
antidepressant for.
But what happens, the antidepressant, all it does is mask the problem. There's ways of vitamins and through exercise and various things. I'm not saying that that isn't real. That's not what I'm saying. That's an alteration of what I'm saying. I'm saying that drugs aren't the answer, that these drugs are very dangerous. They're mind-altering, antipsychotic drugs. And there are ways of doing it without that so that we don't end up in a brave new world. The thing that I'm saying about Brooke is that there's misinformation, okay? And she doesn't understand
like
the
compelling.
history of psychiatry.
Yeah.
She doesn't understand in the same way that you don't understand it.
You
Matt.
just don't know.
But a little bit what you're saying, Tom, is you say you want people to do well, but you want them to do well by taking the road that you approve of, as opposed to a road that may work for them.
No, I'm not.
Well, if antidepressants work for Brooke Shields, why
He
isn't
thought
that
about
okay?
that. No.
I disagree with it. And I think that there's a higher and better quality of life. And I think that promoting, for me personally, see, you're saying, what, I can't discuss what I want to discuss?
No, you absolutely
I know,
can.
But Matt, you're going in and saying that I can't discuss that.
I'm only asking, isn't there a possibility that, do you examine the possibility that these things do work for some people? That yes, there are abuses, and yes, maybe they've gone too
Fair
far
question.
in certain areas.
Yeah.
Maybe there are too many kids on Ritalin. Maybe electric
Too
shock
many
is...
kids on Ritalin. Matt,
I'm just saying, but aren't there examples where it works?
Matt, you're glib. You don't even know
You're glib.
If you start talking about chemical imbalance, you have
Where'd
to
they get
evaluate
that
and
angle?
read the research papers on
Where'd
how
that
they
come
came
from?
up with these theories, Matt. Okay? That's what I've done. And you go and you say, where's the medical test? Where's the blood test that says how much Ritalin you're supposed to get?
It's very impressive to listen to you because clearly you've done the homework and you know
He
the
loved
subject.
that.
Here
And you
comes the.
And you should do that also, because just knowing people who are on Ritalin isn't enough. You should be a little bit more responsible in knowing
I'm
really.
not prescribing Ritalin, Tom, and I'm not asking
I
anyone
love
else
when
to
he-
do
well,
it.
you
are
I'm
saying,
saying
no,
I know some people who seem to have been helped by it.
but you're saying, but it's like this is a very important issue.
I
This is
couldn't
a very,
agree more.
and you know what? And you're here on the Today Show,
Right.
And to talk about it in a way of saying, well, isn't it okay, and being reasonable about it when you don't know, and I do. I think that you
I
should be a little
do.
bit more responsible in knowing what it is.
think you should be more responsible with your platform,
Yeah.
dude. You ever looked at him with Scientology?
I've never, to be honest, really looked into that.
Oh my god.
I know it's like a scary thing, but I just never, I don't know, never
You
really
never,
cared.
you never looked into the church?
No. I've Googled the founder, but that's about it.
L. Ron Hubbard,
L. Ron Hubbard.
who was a horrible guy,
Yeah.
like a bad guy. I mean, he was a science fiction writer.
Yeah, right. He wasn't he just an author? I remember seeing that when I Googled him, but
Yeah, he wrote, I think, only science fiction books. Maybe he ended up writing some for Scientology too. That technically aren't that, but they basically are. And I believe he was a wife beater, like all these, like
Abuser.
a psycho person.
Yeah.
And he created this whole church. And somebody told me a year or two ago to go back and watch the Leah Remini.
Leah Remini.
Remini. Sorry, I got the name wrong. But watch her sit down with Joe Rogan talking about this because
Yeah.
she was in the Church of Scientology
yeah.
for like 25 years and then left.
Yeah.
It's shocking, man.
Her and her dad battle it out about it.
I don't remember. They do?
Her dad's in Scientology.
Still is?
Yeah.
I feel she might have said that in there.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Her and her dad don't get along now.
Yeah,
Something along those
and
lines.
dude, it is the worst cult ever, and they focus when they're talking in that conversation. It might have been, it was like in the 800s or 900 number handle somewhere in there of Joe's episodes. Maybe it was like 909. I forget. We'll look it up. But they were talking about Tom Cruise heavy because she's in Hollywood. She's a B or C lister. He's an A lister, so it's a little different. But she was a prominent name.
Oh, yeah.
In the church. That's what they call it, the Church of Scientology. He was the name, though.
Yeah.
And she said he can walk on water. So she was explaining that all of his assistants and everyone around him, because these guys got 10 fucking people around him for everything, they're all members of the Church of Scientology, and they have to listen to him. He basically is, I forget the parallel she made, but he's like a prophet of the church.
Love it.
And it's all bullshit.
Yeah.
The whole thing's
Absolutely,
bullshit.
Yeah. Bobby Bacala did a commercial for the Scientologist.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't. Come on.
Swear to God, he talks about it in this podcast.
What does he say about it?
They have him do like they use his voice for it, and then he goes in the bathroom and says, "Are these fucking guys Scientologists?" And the guy goes, "Yeah, but I am."
Oh my God. How is this not on the internet?
It's on Talking Sopranos. He talks about it.
So did it ever get aired?
He doesn't know. It's so funny though, man.
Oh,
He
because
does-
it's private. They did it.
yeah.
Oh my God.
He said they paid him very well to use his voice.
No, but they paid him like $2 million for it.
Yeah.
Not really, but
Yeah.
a lot of money.
A lot of money. Yeah.
A lot of money. It's if you go on and watch some of the videos, I remember I watched a couple after that, and you listen to these people talk. It's like a bad real estate commercial.
Yeah.
You can't believe people fall for this. But then you look out in society and you see what people believe just with a tweet, and you're like,
People fall for so many scams.
oh yeah, man.
You send me $20, I'll send you $100.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's you would think today we would be so skeptical of everything, and we are. But then we're not skeptical of the most obvious things. We don't want to ask questions about stuff. We just say, oh, that's what it is. And the thing I worry about is the Church of Scientology is one thing, and I know very limited about what they teach. I just know how crazy it is and what they make. Like when Leah Remini was, I'm never going to get her name right, but when she was on the rocks with the church because she said something wrong.
Yeah.
She literally had to take off work for 3 months and go to Tampa at their headquarters.
Like a camp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
And they would question her every day. I mean, it's psycho shit. But to take it a step farther, outside of the Church of Scientology, you also have people today who are the same people who got a fucking D in science and hated every level of it, but they immediately refer to science or defer to science on anything and say, oh, we got to trust the science. And it makes you wonder, is science the new religion?
Yeah, what is the science? What is the science?
Yeah.
Trust the science. Well, what the hell is the science?
And don't get me wrong, like when I see science I actually go in and read it. And when I don't go read something, I just don't give an opinion on it. But when I see all kinds of reports, peer-reviewed, great source with whatever it is, whatever this situation is I'm looking at, that's where it's like, okay.
Years of research has been put into it.
That makes sense. But the whole point of science is to question what already has been found and to find a new answer.
Absolutely. Is the world round?
Yeah.
Is it flat?
Yes.
No, yeah.
And then people... there's certain things that are laws as a result.
Yeah.
We know for a fact.
Gravity.
We know those things exist. Yeah. But then people want to say everything just based on their agenda, what they want to believe is automatically true. And no, anyone that tries to go in and prove it wrong should not do that. That's defeats the entire purpose of why the whole field exists.
Yeah, absolutely. What's the point if you're not going to test it?
Yeah. And, COVID doesn't exactly help with any of that.
No.
How many people are out there tweeting about listen to the science and have no...
What's the science? Yeah, no, there is no science because it's so new. What is the science?
Changes every day.
I don't know how they have a vaccine. Normally to get a vaccine, it takes like years and years of testing, and they put it out in less than a year.
Yeah. My whole thing there is, and I was saying it on this podcast, I said it on 3 or 4 podcasts going back 2-3 months, where I saw so many people who I just felt like had a lot of time on their hands who were saying, I'm not getting that fucking vaccine or whatever. And I think the anti-vaxxer movement has been a problem. I paid attention to that for a long time.
Problem. In schools?
Yeah.
Your kid, your kid's not vaccinated. Next thing you know, you're giving my kids measles, rubella, something like that. Get out of here. Yeah, your kid should not be able to go to school with my kids unless they've been vaccinated.
I believe it was the measles. It was one of them. But
kids are getting measles again.
Right before COVID happened, there was a breakout in the Midwest.
They're saying vaccines cause autism. I was like, what?
Well, look. So that's a whole
very dangerous
line of thought.
Across. Yeah.
Let's go to that for a second. And here's the thing. I did hear about, as an example, one family, someone was telling me this like 3 months ago. One family, they now have 8 children, and 6 of them have autism. And that could be a total genetic correlation. You don't know.
Absolutely.
There is also the question that did we just not know how to diagnose all forms of autism 50 years ago, which is another great possible explanation. However, let's play devil's advocate, and let's say that some of these anti-vax people, who particularly that's their argument, let's say that they're right about some of that, and some of the vaxes do cause autism. Number one, I feel terrible for them.
Absolutely.
In that case. That's horrible. And
that's scary.
If it were me and it were my kid, it would be devastating. Number two...
child's life changed for the rest of his life.
Yeah. Number two, of course I'm going to be biased as a result of that. It's like...
it's affected you personally.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't blame them. No. But the problem is then, and you don't even have all the data to support it, then you come out and you say it's definitely because of the vaccines, and you tell everyone else not to do it, otherwise your kids are going to get autism. As mean as this sounds, it's the law of large numbers.
Yeah.
The fact of the matter is, if I line 1 million people up in a line and I tell them all to take 3 steps forward on the count of 3, you are going to have 100 morons take 2 steps backwards, and probably 3 people are going to take the wrong step and split their head open.
Some people are not going to move.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just what happens.
So how do you then define that as this is not the exception, it's the rule? That was my issue with the whole anti-vaxxer movement.
What is true? How do you get autism? Does it develop in the womb? Does it develop after birth? Do they know? That's the biggest thing. Nobody really knows when and where, but they know that you do get it and you can see it at a certain age.
Do you know much about autism?
Not really. I just know there's a sliding scale. There's some autism is very severe. Some autism you can live with. Some autism is just, you might just have a touch of it where, he needs help learning. He might have a touch of a learning disability, or others where he can't even drive a car or she can't even drive a car. There's different. That's why there's, you're on the, what do they say? He's on the
spectrum.
The spectrum.
But there's also high functioning
Very high
autism
functioning.
where you are
Like Rain Man.
Yes, you
Yeah.
are literally way smarter than everyone else. It's like a weird negative positive.
Absolutely.
So, and they say, I think this is a generalization. I don't think this is fair, but they do say out in Silicon Valley, there's a lot of that. I'm sure there is some of that where there's just some genius and they
Very
don't.
scary people.
Yeah, it's not. No, I'm not even going that way. They become scared when they get a lot of power, and it's just because they can't. They're so brilliant, they can't see the world the way we see it. They see it on a whole nother level.
Yeah.
And then I empathize with that. You know.
Yeah. It's just a different view, and it scares people.
Yeah.
And that's why they get labeled as very scary people, because they see it as you don't see it.
Yeah. But to bring it back to the vaccine we're facing now, I was very concerned a few months ago because I had a lot of very smart people who are not anti-vaxxers texting me going, I'm not going anywhere near this fucking vaccine. And I was like, Jesus Christ, like what is happening? And the more you then see from the public sphere of expertise talking about this and doing it, I get why these people have their doubts. Forget the fact that it happens so quickly, but you also, it's like we were talking about earlier. I don't know if this was before the podcast or on it, but when you have guys like Bill Gates coming out and trying to beat these things into your head, and he's not a doctor, and almost like rooting on this whole thing, shutting down the economy, and we're saving lives again, fear of loss, right? You start to wonder, why are they doing this?
Yeah, what's their agenda?
Yeah.
What do they have to gain? What do I have to lose?
Are you going to get it?
It depends. I'm being honest, I know people. I know people that have actually already got it.
They have another head growing out of their shoulder.
Could you imagine? You wake up, your wiener falls off. Someone's gonna pay for that. I need answers now.
Well, that was the conspiracy theory online. And by the way, people, let's be very clear. There is no data to back this whatsoever. I'm just repeating, what some people on Reddit got bored and were saying. But they're like, what if the vaccine is going to sterilize 25% of us so they can control population? And my head goes to, all right, chill out, cowboy.
Yeah.
Like that's not what they're doing. And then my head does also go to,
could you imagine?
Yeah, could you imagine?
What happened? Let's just say this is what they did. It was an accident. We are so sorry. Now what? 25% of the country can't have kids.
God, go jerk off into a sperm bank before you get it.
I'm investing in any company that does adoptions.
Yeah.
Terrible to say. I'm kidding, but
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and again, there's nothing.
Could you imagine
There's nothing
that?
to back that, but yeah, could you imagine that? It's just, you start to ask questions when you see people rooting against positivity. And that's what our public sphere government is doing. They're rooting against it. They're saying, stay home. They're saying, Fauci, there's going to be a second one.
Second wave.
We're in the fourth wave now. The guy's changed his opinions more than he's changed his underwear. I'm sorry. I know he's a doctor and we're supposed to trust him, but trust is built on admitting when you're wrong, number one, and number two, also having some level of accuracy.
The problem is this is all on the go, so there is no accuracy. There is no science to base anything they're doing.
Fair.
They're just taking a shot in the wind.
Just doesn't. Remember at the beginning, though, they were saying it's on surfaces.
Yeah.
You know
can
when
live on your box, so when you get your package, leave it in the garage.
That's when I knew. That's when I knew. When the Amazon guy came day one and delivered a package to every single door in the apartment building, and no one fucking got COVID.
It was all, exactly.
I'm like, well, it's not on surfaces.
It can live on a surface for 3 days.
Yeah.
What?
And they said not to wear masks beforehand. And look, let's take Fauci's side explanation on that, where he said, well, we were so unprepared that we had such a shortage for our first responders that we were worried about not having enough masks.
Yeah.
Okay, fair point. You still have to contend with the fact that you did technically lie to the public. So how can you then expect them to trust you moving forward, even if you did it for the right reasons?
Too many.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. It's just, there's no fixing it. Once that trust is broken, it's done. So that's why I feel it's just going to grow and grow and grow until the science says, hey, this is safe to get.
And my other thing is the coordinated censorship of anyone who has the audacity to introduce different scientific ideas about this by the social platforms.
Yeah.
Tells me, well, it doesn't tell me. It lends me the question, I guess that's how you say it. If it's not true, or if it doesn't have the potential to be true, or if it's that wrong, then why are you shutting down people saying it?
Yeah.
Yes, there will be some people who cling to it, but...
Why, as soon as it gets posted, you take it right down?
Yeah. Why would you hide it?
There's freedom of speech out there. Why is this happening?
I'm a believer that you put all the ideas in the public square, and yes, are there some stone cold idiots who are going to believe things that have no evidence? Absolutely. It's the law of math, dude. Yeah. Over time, the better evidence argument is going to win.
Absolutely.
So like when you say, if you're in 1850 and you're out in the public square saying, guess what? Black people are humans the same way we are. Yes, were there people who were saying you're an idiot and you're scientifically wrong? Yeah. Sure. Yep. Were there a lot of people back then saying that? Sure. Keep saying it over time. Apparently enough people believed it to fight a war over it and say, yeah, this was a big mistake. We got this one wrong.
Way wrong.
You know?
And you know what? It's taught. That kind of stuff is taught. That, we're going to believe this, believe that. It gets pushed into you so much.
What do you mean taught?
Well, say, the flat earth people. It was pushed into their heads. Like, you know what I mean? It was forced. If you said the world was round, you got hung.
When was that?
Remember, it was, I forget the years, but you were hung. If you went against the science, you were hung. So that's why nobody was really researching stuff, because if you went against it, you were ostracized, you were killed. If you tried to stir up, they basically saw it as you being a pot stirrer.
And that's the danger, because obviously we have nothing like that right now, not even close. But we have the public squares are socials.
Yeah.
It's where they are. And that's where free speech is supposed to apply. But they are private organizations. So by the way, right now as it stands, when they do this stuff and they shut down speech, they are allowed to do that. They are within their rights as the current legal codes stand.
Yeah.
To do that. But we need to figure out the fact that they literally are that public square. So we need to change that, because when they do it, they have the effect of suppressing free speech.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not saying that some of this stuff where you have other scientists, and I big air quotes there, coming out and making these other claims. I'm not saying there's not some Looney Tune shit in there.
Everybody's a scientist all of a sudden.
Oh, yeah. I watched the Plandemic documentary and laughed my ass off. And there's a lot of people that bought that. That was some Looney Tune shit. There was another guy on there. I can't even remember what he was saying. He gave this long, like 2-hour... it was like a 2-hour dissertation on math with COVID, and he's just some brilliant guy who wanted to talk people in a circle.
Yeah.
And like, yes, there are some people that are going to believe that guy.
Absolutely.
But you have to let the ideas win.
You can't just shut it down right away. You have to have free speech, open, safe spaces to talk about things. Because if you don't, nothing's going to get better. Nothing's going to change.
Why do you think Europe has less of a drinking problem than we do?
There's no drinking age.
Yeah. Once you tell people they can't.
Look at Portugal. Everything is legal. They have everything has went down astronomically.
What do you think of
Oregon doing it?
Legal, yeah. Let's start there.
I agree. Tax everything.
Yeah.
I feel the less you make it so scary, the less people are going to mess with it. It's just whatever. Exactly. Just make it so it's out there. People know about it. And guess what? We'll see what happens.
Yeah. It takes a lot of violence away too, potentially.
Yeah, a lot of...
It's got to be done right.
Yeah.
People are so ingrained and doctored into thinking a certain way that they can't open their minds to things. Are you familiar with the Silk Road at all?
Yeah. Which one? Silk Road 2.0, Silk Road?
And it's like, I had a different username on each one. Yeah. I study
Dread Pirate.
Yeah, Dread Pirate Roberts, Ross Ulbricht, who's relevant right now.
In prison, trying to get himself out.
I study that closely. And for people that aren't familiar, the Silk Road was a deep web website that the real one, the full one, existed from 2011 through 2013. And it was a global site where, using a platform, a browser called Tor, which makes it secretive. You had to use that to use it.
And you had to have it in your computer to use it.
Yeah. You could go on there and you could effectively, through the mail, buy whatever drug you wanted. And Ross Ulbricht, who built it and ran it and was later caught by the FBI and then received what turned out to be a very controversial sentence of life in prison, no parole, which has been a movement since then, and it's relevant because Trump might commute his sentence. He was a radical libertarian who, took it too far. He believed borderline no government, which can't work, in my opinion.
Will never work.
That just doesn't happen. But
there has to be a higher power at all times.
But the concept, one of the concepts behind it, I can never get out of my head because I think there was a lot of good to it. Maybe good's the wrong word. It was very interesting. But what he was saying is that people are going to decide what they put in their bodies. I don't want people doing heroin. I don't want people doing very hard drugs. I don't think he cared at all about weed or mushrooms and stuff, stuff that doesn't kill you. But if they have the decision to put it in their bodies, it's their call. Let them do it and decriminalize all of it and allow it on the open market to take away all the violence that then comes into the world of the black market that's created.
Absolutely. The biggest fraud is the war on drugs that ever happened.
Yeah.
There's nothing has wasted more of the government's money, more of the government's time, and it absolutely fell on its face. Because you knock one head off, two grew. Because the money that's involved and the violence. So therefore, if you do legalize everything, the violence goes away. Because it's all going to be taxed and all controlled by the government. So therefore, it's all going to come in by a certain way, and it's all going to be controlled.
And how would it work? Would it be like liquor and cigarettes where the government just puts a tax on it and now they also get a repository of anyone who uses so they can encourage them to go to rehab?
Well, Portugal doesn't do it like that. They do it as, if we catch you with it, you can't be selling it, but if you have it, you're not in trouble. And it does. If they will get you help, it's a lot less, stigmatized. Like, oh my God, he's a bad person. It's just, hey, let's get this guy help, get this girl help, and we'll go from there. It's more the government funds it where, nowadays you want to go to rehab, you better have good insurance or you're going to go to some crappy state facility.
Yeah.
And it's not like that. It's all funded by the taxes, fund a lot of that. And it's proven to be such a better system than what we have. Rehab's also a racket. A lot of people go to jail over that. Charging too much for drug tests. I think a drug test in rehab costs around $1,500. It's what they charge insurances. I would see, I don't know any of these guys personally, but I heard the stories through my network all the time about guys who just got so rich opening up rehab centers. No history themselves. No. They just built these beautiful places and charged $30,000 a day. Not literally. And then paid people to go and find addicts to bring them into their rehabs, and they would get a piece of their insurance money. Yep. It's like subsidized. Yeah. Everything follows the money. Yeah. If there's money involved, shit's going to go down. Now, what about if we made it legal, though? The government would have to compete on price with the black market because the black market already puts a huge, for all the expenses they have, they still put a huge up market on product right now because they can. There's a monster premium on products. They could maybe still compete on price and make money. Yeah, make money. And guess what? The taxes, you put the good. And that's what they're trying to do. But it's just... For so long, it's been beat into your head that drugs are bad. Drugs are bad. And I think that's a problem because that created the whole DARE thing. And then, therefore, that created people that, I'm going to do drugs. I'm going to rebel. They see it as someone that does drugs as someone that's rebelling. But it's not. It's someone that, it's almost a cry for help, I feel like. It can be different, too. Each person is different. Yes. It's all... People have different impetuses or impeti, whatever it is, to... actually start. It involves your experience. Genetics plays a role. There's all these things. Oh, yeah. And controversial take here, but
we've all, or I shouldn't say all of us, but a lot of people have personal experience with 1, 2, 3, 10 people around them in their life who have experienced some form of struggle with this and have gone through different systems, whether it be drugs, alcohol, whatever. And my personal opinion as a Joe Blow from the outside, I look at the way some of these organizations handle their people after rehab in life. And to me, there is not, how do I put this? They constantly remind you, make a point out of reminding you that A, you are not normal, B, you are sick, and C, no, you are going to make the worst decision because that's your nature. And so you can't do X, Y, and Z because you will fall back to this. And they beat it in you over and over and over again every week or every day for some people, telling you you're not normal, you can't be like anyone else, and you're sick.
Yeah, you can't do this, you can't do that. It's all based around this. Oh no, if he does this, this is what's going to happen. Oh no, if you hang out with this person, you're going to do drugs again. It's not. It's each person has their own choice. And it's a choice, but it's a disease, but it's also a choice to stop, and it's a choice to do it. But it is a disease where, you know what, that person is an addict. But guess what? They're not a terrible person.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of addicts go on to be great, great at whatever they do or whatever they want to do. They're normally some of the most, they have the strongest will you've ever met out of somebody. You know, they're
my God, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. They try to tell everyone that's not possible for them, is my point.
Oh yeah, they're going to have a crutch the rest of their life.
Yes. Yeah. And so I know several people who were heavily addicted to heroin.
Yeah.
And one of them, I love listening to him speak on it because it was a while ago now, and he broke out from that world. I'm talking about after he got clean, which was very difficult. He got clean.
Sure, it's a serious process. It never happens the first time.
No,
it takes attempt after attempt after attempt until it finally everything you've learned finally comes together and clicks.
But then not going back, the way they do the system, obviously,
you can't get caught up in it.
Well, not even just that. On a lower level, like the actual lifelong rehab of it, it's constant meetings and reminders and telling you you're not normal and telling you don't make that decision. It's don't. It's not empowering. And so one of the things he figured out, he was about 2 years out, and the way he described it is he goes, look, I don't expect people to understand this, but when you're on heroin, it is the most addictive thing ever.
Yeah.
You can't live without it. And it's, to your point, like you just said, it is so hard to kick.
Yeah.
But if you actually do kick it, and so many people don't, they never get there. If you actually do kick it, a lot of people that he knows, and he himself said it as well, you get to a point where then it's positive to think about it because you realize how satanic it is. That's how he described it.
You got to realize how crazy you were living.
Oh, yeah. But he says, I think about the drug, and not only do I never, even in my worst moments, have an even questionable thought of doing it again, the idea I would sooner put a gun to my head because that's how bad it makes me feel.
Well, yeah, you're going to go back and set yourself up to fail again.
Yeah. Well, not even that, just the feeling itself. Forget that. I mean, you're a total failure when you're doing that. But he said that's not how they treated it in the whole rehab process. So he's a really smart guy, was coming out, was getting jobs, was starting to do well in the world. Yeah. And he was constantly being reminded of this. And he said, one day, I was just like, this ain't it. They're just telling me over and over again I'm sick. And all I'm telling them is I'm focused on my career and I'm trying to talk about the things I'm doing. And they want to constantly remind me that I was a heroin addict. And so he just got up and left, never went back. Best decision he ever made.
It's always in your face.
Yes.
And there's different strokes for different folks. Guess what? Going to a meeting every day might help this person.
It
Guess
might.
What?
Yeah.
This other person wants to put it in the rear view, and that's perfect. Everybody is different.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And maybe the greater point that I should make is, as a equalizer on this, is that perhaps the system of a constant reminder for some people is actually needed.
Yeah.
But they claim no matter what, for everyone it's needed. And there are people out there who are like, yeah, they believe that. But there are also a lot of people who then suddenly think, well, no, that's not good for me.
Yeah.
And they're right. It's not because they're an addict and they're looking for a crutch or an excuse to go back. They're just saying, no, that was a period of my life. I got past it and I'm focused on my life now, and I don't want to constantly be reminded I'm sick.
Exactly. I'm focused on where I'm going now, not where I was.
Yes.
I don't want to be reminded every day of all the shit I did in the past.
It's
all the people I hurt. Yeah, it's conditioning. Yeah.
It's and that's what I think about with, to bring it back to COVID as well. There's a lot of conditioning with how they market this thing.
Oh yeah.
And move the goalposts.
They have to.
What do you mean?
I think they have to market it the way they want it, because if they don't, then what? They didn't do it the way they wanted, and therefore, if it fails, they can blame it on whoever they want. Oh, the people didn't allow it to set in.
What do you mean they're marketing it the way they want it?
Well, say you own a product. Hold on, headphones isn't working.
Oh yeah, hit this right here. Just roll this around.
Okay.
You got that?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead.
So they're going to market it the way they want it. So say if they didn't market it the way they wanted it and it didn't work, they could always blame it on that. Hey, we didn't get it out to the public the way we wanted. But this way, if they do it the way they want, therefore they can always, hey, the public didn't receive the way we did it. We did it the right way. They just fought against it.
But why do they want to constantly tell people ahead of time, literally by saying, they've said the second wave, the third wave, the fourth wave throughout all these months, they're telling people in advance that we're going to fail. They're not saying like, hey, let's try to do a good job. They're saying, for example, all right, so we'll probably see a surge in 2 weeks because Thanksgiving is on Thursday, and people are, even though we're telling everyone not to go see each other, people are definitely going to go do it. They're not going to listen to us, and then we're going to have this big surge. So no Christmas, everyone.
Christmas is canceled.
That's what I'm saying. How do they... Why do they want that?
They're covering their ass.
Yeah. Sadly, that might be right.
Yeah. They're covering what they have to cover, so therefore they can always put the blame elsewhere. It was you guys who didn't listen to us.
That's the system, though, man.
Yeah, sure.
No term limits. Everyone is looking short term. They don't want to be the guy that blew it.
Yeah. They can't be, because it'd be career suicide.
But then the other side is like Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom not only is going to get body bagged in whenever the next election is, he may not make it to that election. They have 800,000 signatures right now or 900,000 to recall him.
He's a hated person.
Why? Why is he digging in?
I guess it's what he believes in. I
don't think he believes in shit.
Yeah, no. It's just, some people love to fight.
Yeah.
They love to be that, they love to be the heel. It's just the way it goes.
It's a power thing.
Yeah. All the attention's on him.
Yeah. I think I got one other theory on this. I want to bat your way. I got a theory. One guy looked at me once. I was sitting with him, and he was a successful dude in the music industry, and he was walking through how singles go. Like how they really
choose the single of the album?
Not even choosing it. How you know that you hit.
A hit is a hit is a hit.
I mean, yeah, you could even go that simple. But this guy said, if the bitches bump it, it's going.
Okay.
And I was laughing because, I said it in slang. But then I thought about it in the context of marketing. Men go after women and on the hetero side, obviously. And they follow them where they go. Like, that's what we do. And think about all the social platforms.
Okay.
So let's even skip over MySpace. Let's go straight to Facebook. So roughly in this order, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and what am I missing?
TikTok.
Oh, TikTok. Yeah, good example. Are any of those platforms aesthetically or user base designed for a male?
No, it's sexy. That's what sex sells.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know he's going to sell.
It's not even just the sex sells. It's even a layer below that. Let's look at Instagram as the best example. If I would have told our group of friends, like my group of guy friends in 2012, when Facebook was the thing, if I would have said, guys, 5 years from now, we're going to be on this app called Instagram. And the way you use this app, it's an all-white app where, including us as guys, we're going to take pictures where we edit it in filters on Visco and upload it with beautiful-looking aesthetics. That's going to be a word.
Yeah.
And the way that we get clout on this platform is people tap a heart button that turns a beautiful, bright red when they see our picture. And by the way, the text is all this size in like girly format. That's the one we're going to be using the most.
And you're going to love it.
Yeah.
And you're going to be addicted to it.
All of us would have said we're nuts.
And you're going to care so much about what people think and how many likes you get. Oh, I didn't get this many likes.
It's designed for women. Women went there first to be aesthetic, and then the guys followed them.
Yeah.
And so
They
now
want to see women on Instagram.
they want to see them, and then they become a part of it.
Yeah.
And I could paint that example with every platform. You go back to Facebook, you look at the photo albums and the white on light blue and everything. Now look at COVID. The marketing, and I say marketing there, the way they present it to people is like family. They talk to everyone like they're kids.
Yeah.
They put out the ads that say, wear a mask, social distance, people are smiling, hugging, they're cartoons half the time. The governors are getting memed online and women fawn over them and stuff. Like that's how we moved the goalposts over time to where people were just so worried about it because they went after the protector gene in women. This is my little theory I have. And women are all about nurturing and taking care of the family and making sure everyone's fed. And I'm just talking in like biology over time. Yes. And they went after, there is nothing more powerful than a motherly bond to protect her kids and the people around her.
Yeah.
And they go after that. And that then drives the sentiment because then they get those women, and those women online then parrot the message everywhere. And then we as guys also all buy it.
Yeah.
All of it.
Have to.
And and by the way, there's a lot of it that's true. I'm just saying the extreme that they take it to. That's how they do it.
Scare the shit out of you. Fear. It's all fear-based, right?
Yeah.
If only, what percentage of people die? It's like it's not even a percentage, right?
I'm not even gonna say it because I'll get the number wrong.
It's like 2, something crazy will die.
If you're 70 and above, I remember this one. If you're 70 and above, as of September with the CDC report, I think I've cited this 100 times on this show. You have a 5.5% chance of dying.
And what if you have like underlying issue? Like
I don't know that number,
asthma,
but I know.
heart disease.
Yeah, I know that if you have a comorbidity, it's significantly higher.
Now, what about the flu? Nobody has the flu right now. What's that about?
I did look at that. There are some there are number stats on the flu this year.
Yeah. What's crazy is everything is getting lumped into COVID because of that federal funding. I know people that have went and got a COVID test, left, didn't get the test, got the call that they got the positive COVID test. He goes, I didn't even take the test. What are you talking about? Oh, sorry, we made a mistake.
Come on.
Swear to God. Left, did not take the test. Got a call. Oh, sorry, we made a mistake.
And that's the shit that removes trust in the system.
Yeah.
And look, the other side of it is you get Trump coming out and saying, oh, we only have more cases because we're doing more testing. Like that's an answer. It's not. If there's people dying and shit, you can't say that. Yeah. That's not how it works.
No, because the percentages will always be the same.
I just think everyone's dropped the ball.
Yeah.
There's no nuance. People are either, we're all going to die. We have death counts on TV. What is that?
300,000, 200, I forget what it's at, but it's high. It's very high.
What does that do for our psychology?
Scares the shit out of you.
Yeah. But then you also have people like, I'm going to fucking go out and not have a problem. Like,
yeah. See these bars down south just packed with people.
And then you wonder why they get it.
Yeah.
I sincerely hope you are extremely wrong, though. 5 years of mass, that's not happening.
Do you see it ending anytime soon? We all thought, oh, once 2020 is over, we'll be all right.
Fair point.
Oh, yeah. Once 2020 is over, everything okay. Well, guess what? It's about to be 2021 in about a couple days, and it's worse than it was when we started.
I think people are nearing their breaking point with it, though. And again, I say this all the time, and I'll say it again. Living in New Jersey during this, I wear a mask everywhere I go. Yeah. I'd rather just be, like, right about it or on the right side of history with it, just in case that really makes a difference and there's data to suggest it really does. So, cool. It's just, I don't want to accept a reality where we're going to be doing that into perpetuity. That's where I draw the line. So at some point here, there's a chasm that gets crossed, and maybe it's as we get trust in the vaccine, which I don't want to believe the conspiracy theories. I want to believe that that's legitimate and continue to see people to get it and have no side effects or limited on a mathematical basis. Maybe it's doing that over the next 6-7 months. And
Time will tell.
Yeah. And then we all just get it.
If the vaccine falls on its face, what happens? Do we do the thing that I said? Everybody has to get it. In 2 weeks, we're all right?
They won't officially do that, but there will be a herd immunity.
Yeah, they'll have to. The country cannot survive continually doing this and doing this and doing this.
The thing about the Europe stuff, watching those riots, is those people know what it's like to not have full freedom.
Yeah.
They know, because a lot of those governments have had spotty histories during the course of the history of our country where they're not pure democracies, where they control their people and do things that harm an individual's right to freedom and the pursuit of happiness.
Sure, especially in Eastern Europe. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So they know what it's like not to have that, and they know, therefore, what that looks like. Whereas here, we don't know what that looks like, so we just lay down.
Yeah, we trust.
Exactly.
We trust.
Oh, it's gonna work out.
It'll be okay.
I've done it too. Like, well, I'm not sitting here like never done that, never been like, we're gonna be fine. I've said that during the pandemic. I'm just knowing now, 9, 10, 11 months in, whatever it is. Okay, this is where we gotta ask ourselves some hard questions.
I remember it kicked off when the sports stopped. I remember telling all my people, 3 months, sports will be back. Don't worry, we'll be back to bet, and sports will be back 3 months. 3 months came and went like this, and nothing changed. That's when I was kind of like, oh, man, this is going to be bad. And it's been terrible since.
You remember when it was 30 days right at the beginning? All right, 2 weeks of... It's
sitting
2
in
weeks
your house.
for the virus can incubate, so we'll do 2 weeks, and then to be safe, we'll do 2 more.
Yeah.
And we're going to be good.
We're fine. We're perfect.
We're going to be good. I was telling everyone.
9 months later, here we are.
Yeah, I remember Trump coming out like, I want to reopen Easter.
Yeah.
I think it'll be the great...
Everyone's going to be in the church. Everyone's going to be in church by April 1st, he said.
What did he call it? The great...
He said
he
something.
named it like with Easter.
Like the great... I forget what he said, but it was beautiful.
It wasn't the great reopening. It was the Easter... It was like brilliant and completely wrong.
Wasn't resurrection.
Was not even in the realm of possibility. And he still came out and said... And that's another example. Fauci comes out in February and says, you don't need a mask, or beginning of March. Trump comes out and goes, we're going to be open in April. It's going to go away.
Remember that masks were bad?
Yeah.
Then you got to wear a mask.
But that's the point. You have two people who are on the opposite side of the spectrums.
I don't understand how the
them?
government did that. How they let them both battle it out like that. They should have fixed that and nipped that in the bud before it even happened. Chaos. Yeah. How did they allow that to happen? Where one side was going to be totally, you know what I mean?
You remember Fauci's face at the one press conference where Trump's up there? He goes,
he wouldn't let him talk after a while.
We're doing good work out there. Despite all the deep state, as I call it. And you just see Fauci like,
oh my God. Did he just call me that?
Like trying not to laugh.
Operation Warp Speed.
That's when you know. Uh-oh.
I was like, what? What did you just call that? Operation Warp Speed.
We're going to call it Warp Speed. I thought of the name myself.
Yeah.
Trump thought he could market his way out of this.
Yeah. Just like the Space Force.
Can't do it, man.
No.
That's not how it goes. And that's where his weakness and ego comes into play, because he is if you look at his career, he is a true believer in the power of positive thought and speaking things into existence.
Yeah. He loves that. Loves to hear himself speak.
You can't do that with an invisible virus.
Who would have thought it lasted this long? That's what he was betting on.
Bad bet.
Bad bet. Very bad bet.
Bad bet.
He figured a month, 2 months, we'll be all right.
And for such a conspiracy theorist,
the Chinese virus.
Yeah, for such a conspiracy theorist, he should have been.
Yeah. He
should have been more like, oh, this must be way worse than I think. Yeah. You would think you would do that. That's where it would be a positive for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But he just really. It's amazing, because I saw some of the last people in the world I would think support him now support him in the new election, and some of the last people in the world not support him and now not support him in the election.
Yep.
I was like, ooh, uh-oh.
I was looking at his numbers and how he called the last win was a red wave. He was close in a lot of states. You know, I'm not a big political guy, but I was checking out the numbers he won by against Hillary, and he did not win by... Like, it wasn't a red wave like he said it was.
No, it was a very tight election.
Yeah.
It was a very tight election.
She won the popular vote, right, by like a couple million.
Easy. She won it by like 2.5 million.
Yeah.
And that's, you know, we may see like a rewriting of the map here now too.
Yeah. They might have to do that.
San Fran, New York, Philly, going to Austin, which is already
Yeah.
a leftward city, but it's in Texas.
Yeah.
Going to Miami.
You're seeing Texas almost turn blue.
I think it's gonna.
Almost,
I think it might happen.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And then we are the only country, correct, that does the Electoral College. Everybody else does the popular vote, right?
I don't want to say for sure. I don't know. I do know that that's not a common system.
It's very rare. I'm almost positive we're the only country that does
You don't think we should do it?
it. I've heard both sides. One side say then the little guy in Iowa, his vote wouldn't mean anything.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the other side say, well, it should be based on the numbers. Well, I just don't know enough about it to really say.
You ever hear the concept of groupthink?
No.
Loosely, groupthink refers to the idea that when you put people into larger and larger groups where one single voice becomes smaller and smaller as the group grows, the ability to critically think and come to nuanced opinions or opinions that can change lessens.
Yeah, I can understand that.
So think about, let's use the big stereotype. Think about the Midwestern rural town of 100 people
Yeah.
versus the 100 people that live within 100 feet of each other in New York City.
Yeah. Who means more?
Right. So if you get one, regardless of what type of political ideology it is, could be anywhere on the spectrum, when you have it in concentrated places, you are more likely to involuntarily, I don't want to use indoctrinate, but create a space where more people are just going to naturally gravitate and agree with you without thinking for themselves, that you run the risk of having small areas that geographically have their own little worlds that are way different from other little worlds that could exist in the same country, but this world, just because more people are there, wins out and legislates the entire country as a result. So that's why I support the Electoral College, because as you said, they would never go to Iowa.
Yeah, they would never. They'd campaign in 2 cities. That's
Yep.
it. Yeah,
They'd go to-
campaign in L.A., New York, and that's it.
They might go to Houston. They might go to Miami,
Very rare, but
Chicago.
yeah,
That's it.
major cities.
Wouldn't go anywhere else.
No, and that's the biggest problem.
There'd be no point. So I think it's important in that way. And again, I think we're going to see a potential big shift of red to blue states and blue to red state. I don't know. I don't know how it irons out, but especially when you look at Twitter and threads on Reddit and you see, and then you look at the data we do have of the people moving.
Yeah.
And the power of the voice of the people moving.
Which party's in more trouble?
That is a great question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I think the Republican Party's in more trouble. Due to the fact that most of their supporters are older. It's my own, I'm going with the facts.
I would agree with you. Where I'll say that it's like a push in my mind and could go either way is that the Democratic Party, by and large, in this situation, has been the party of lockdowns and fear. And they're pissing. I have seen a lot of people take the proverbial red pill who probably don't have a single right-wing belief other than what shouldn't be a right-wing belief, which is literal freedom to do what they want to do. But now they think they're a conservative.
Absolutely. Just because of that.
I've been there in my life. I have been on both sides of the spectrum there, blue pill, red pill, where I went to a side not because, and I didn't know this at the time, you get so caught up in it, not because I believed in everything that side was doing, but because I repelled certain things that the other side was doing.
So bad.
Yeah, and now I'm out of that bubble, and I'm very self-conscious of it, but most people, they don't come out of that.
No, they drink the Kool-Aid.
Yeah.
And they just they'll follow that other one into the ground.
Geographically, though, I agree with you. If I were making the bet strictly on traditional voting and the geography, Republicans are in deep shit.
Deep shit with the age gap.
Not even just the age gap, dude. Where these people are going.
Yeah.
Let's assume there's no age gap, which there is. You're right.
Yeah.
But these people are spreading out. They're going to Texas. They're going to Florida. Big swing states and not a swing state that they could turn the other way.
Exactly. And there's no fighting that.
Yeah. I don't know.
It'll be fun to see. I think a lot does depend on who the candidate is, too. Some people fall in love with a candidate and can, how many people sit in the middle? They're not a Democrat, they're not a Republican, but they're not independent.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Well, one final question for you on that point. What do the Republicans do with Trump out of the way? Like, who do they even fill the void with? He's so controversial, but he's the loudest voice in the room.
Yeah. They didn't even want him. He was forced into their camp, right?
Yeah.
They'll find it. They'll bring somebody up. They'll find a golden boy.
Insider, outsider?
Insider. Oh, they're going with someone they can control this time. They're not allowing that. They're not allowing this to happen again.
All right, actually, I'm sorry. I bluffed. One final question. Is he running in 2024?
No, he's too old. I think he'll be too old then. Because how old is he now?
Does he think he's too old? I can't take it if he runs. I can't do that again.
No, he's too old. He'll be, what, 80 then?
He's going to be like 78.
Yeah, 8? No, come on.
He's a machine, though. I got to give him that. The guy doesn't sleep.
So he'd be what when he was done? 84? Come on. That's too old. You're too out of touch at that point.
All right, let me ask you this. You put Trump up, forget his politics. From a strictly energy and vibe and even, this isn't the term, but like, no, not work ethic, like workhorse mentality. Put him up against any Republican in public office right now who is, say, between the ages of 55 and 60, if you can think of some. Who can compete with him?
They'll smash him into the ground. He's the greatest salesman out there right now for the Republican Party.
That's what I mean.
Nobody can talk with him.
He could fall. Now, look, he could fall off a cliff.
Sure.
Like, I've said before, I used to caddy for Joe Biden's brother-in-law all the time. I stood next to Joe Biden in the summer of 2014, and he comes up, he's busting balls with everyone on the practice tee. He was yoked. I remember thinking to myself, God damn, this Veep's like 72 years old. This motherfucker's like 50.
He's getting the good juice.
I'm like, wow. And then you see him come up to run for office in 2019, you're like, oh, what happened? So it can happen fast.
Yeah, the toll of being in the office takes a big toll on you.
Yeah.
You age 2 times, 3 times, or whatever you were going to do. You don't sleep. You're not getting the right rest.
Regardless of politics, I do really hope whatever is going to go down here, I just think it's better for us that Trump lost the election now, and that's it with him.
He held on for a while. He was not giving up.
He's still not giving up.
Still not, yeah, but once Mitch McConnell said it, I think that's it.
Oh, it's definitely it.
Oh, it's official.
Oh, it's past it.
All the bets have went through.
It's past it, but he's still fucking yapping out there. It's crazy.
He still wants people to fight for him.
That's what I mean.
He's going to get taken out in a straitjacket out of that White House. He's not going to leave. They're going to bring the army in to get him out of there.
If he does that, he will be, regardless of whatever he's done in the past that you might think is good, he'll be the most damaging person in the history of politics if he stays in that office. If he doesn't get the fuck out on January 20th.
Well, people still love him. Well, his lover, yes. Like he said, I could shoot somebody on 5th Avenue and the polls won't change.
Yeah. Well, he needs to get the fuck out.
Yeah, it's time. You win, you lose, you win like a man.
Dude.
He's acting like a real sissy.
I am not stuttering on this whatsoever. If he does not leave that office on Inauguration Day, if he does not leave the White House, that will be the most damaging day in the history of this country.
It'd be so bad.
So let's not assume he's going to do that.
Could you imagine the coverage on that? You see him looking out the window.
I don't even want to think of it that way. Now you're gonna make me laugh.
You know, Melania is gone. She can't stand him as it is. I love when she goes to hold his hand and he's like reaching for it, and she's like, "Get off of me, dude." She's gone. I think she already left.
You think
I think the reports are she already left. Yeah.
Really?
Yes. I'm pretty sure she's already, because I'm pretty sure she already loaded up the truck and like she's back in New York already.
How'd she get back to New York City without pictures? I don't care who you are.
I think she's saying that she's like going back and forth. You know, a lot of times they would go back and forth to Florida. I think she's saying she's going back and forth until it's over. I think Barron's in New York. I forget reading. I read it somewhere. Mom was 100% sure she's in New York.
Well, long reality show's got to end.
Yeah, that would be a scene of all scenes.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's dark comedy to that.
Yes.
But
the damage.
That's in the moment you're laughing because it's that surreal and fucking crazy. But the damage of that, I don't even want to put into words.
Yeah.
That's how bad that would be.
There hasn't been a president yet that didn't,
Never.
That when they lost, they didn't make a speech and congratulate.
The closest we ever got to this was Roosevelt ending the whole, because it wasn't officially a law, the 2-term thing. Everyone had just honored it, and he said, no, fuck that, I'm going to stay.
I'm going, yeah.
But people didn't argue it, and it wasn't that big a deal.
After that, they made it law.
And after that, they made it a law.
Now, will he, on the inauguration day, will he be there?
No.
Will he give a gift?
No, I think that's wrong. But
so
no,
wrong.
He won't.
Yeah, you're supposed to welcome them with a gift, leave instructions.
His ego is that if he got wronged, he will wrong you twice back. That's just how it is. I mean, I'm just reading the tea leaves of his actions, and yes, Obama did all that for him.
Yeah.
In 2016, 2017, in where I'll defend Trump is that Obama completely broke protocol and ripped him 12 Ways to Sunday without saying his name too, which was really
low blow.
It's not even that it's a low blow. It's like, if you're going to do it, say his fucking name.
Yeah.
Like, it's already Trump. It's easy to say his name.
Yeah.
He brings it on himself. Yeah. Say his name. Yeah. But he broke protocol with that. And then Trump tweets out all this stuff that he claims Obama did. Who knows what's true or what's not. But that's what he thinks. And so he's not going to give in to that.
No. Well, we'll see. It's going to make for some pretty interesting scenes.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Well, listen, brother, thank you for coming in. This was fun.
Absolutely.
You're one of the funniest humans I've ever met in my life, and I think people got a little taste of it tonight.
A touch. Because this was a little on the serious end.
Yeah.
We didn't kid around that much.
Yeah. Tougher time to kid around, but
yeah.
I'll be bringing you on in the future. You're my go-to on any bookie related stuff going on, and just some good stories. So we'll get there.
I've been looking at Marilyn Monroe the whole time.
It's a good view, right?
Yeah, she's great. Now I know why Kennedy almost gave it all up.
Yeah. All these, we had to get that one in there. All right. Well, on that note, everyone else, give it a thought. Get back to me. Peace.